You might have noticed a new cash advance app ranking high amongst all of the popular finance apps. Tilt. It's not a new kid on the block though. It's rebranded from Empower, which is one of the most popular apps for extra cash. Now, we reviewed Empower before and we weren't a fan of its high fees and low advance limits, but I figured it might be worth a revisit since they just rebranded. So let's see if this new version tilts to a more positive review. Empower was one of the most widely used cash advance apps. However, there was a not so small problem. There's actually two Empowers. If you look in the App Store, other Empower is an investing app and it even has a similar icon. Both of these apps have been feuding over which one retains the right to use the brand name. We don't know who won that battle, but we can guess because in August 2025, Empower rebranded to Tilt. Now, ironically, there's a lot of other apps named Tilt as well, so I guess these guys just aren't a fan of originality. These advances through Tilt range from $10 to $400, and according to the website, it can give $100 to new users, so this is a higher amount than most of the other apps. There's no credit check, it connects to your bank through Plaid, and eligibility is based on your account history and deposits. Over 75% of users actually qualify for an advance, and we've seen a lot of reviews where people have gotten rejected from other apps and Tilt actually granted them an advance, including people that don't have regular direct deposits. So if you are a gig worker and not a W-2 employee, then this might be something to try. They also claimed though that although they qualified, they were given smaller amounts, so just keep that in mind. So Tilt got rid of the optional tips option, which is amazing but doesn't affect most of us because I don't know of anyone who tips anyways. There's no interest, no late fees, and there is a subscription fee of $8 a month. That comes out to $96 a year and includes a 14-day free trial. For the most part, if you're not using cash advances consistently, then this could be a pretty high amount compared to some of the other options. An instant fee is also tiered between $1 to $12. That's about average, but also compared to the old Empower's fees, that's a big improvement. Okay, let's talk about payback. So Tilt will automatically withdraw money from your account on your next payday. You can reschedule this if you need to, but you must have money in your account for them to be able to withdraw. If you fail to do this, it can decrease the amount that it's giving you for your next advance or completely pause the option. They do though reimburse one overdraft fee, and this is particularly helpful for people who are trying to get out of the debt cycle where they are trying to pay off overdraft fees using other cash advances. If you don't have to worry about that one time, you can start getting ahead of the cycle. Another unique feature is that Tilt offers a line of credit. This can range from $200 to $400, growing all the way up to $1,000 if you keep using it and pay back on time. Keep in mind this is a credit product, so it will check your credit score, and the interest rate is 35.99%, which is pretty expensive. Not to mention you will also need the $8 Tilt subscription on top of that. You can also repay as a lump sum or split it up into 2 to 4 payments, and if you're late, it does reflect on your credit. You can't use this and the cash advance option at the same time. You have to choose one of them and pay it off first before you can use the second feature. So that's just something to mention in case you all would prefer taking out a line of credit instead of using a cash advance. But there are cons. Just do so wisely because this does affect your credit, whereas a cash advance will not. In the App Store, it has 4.8 stars, and Google Play it has 4.7, so pretty good ratings. It's easy to set up, it is transparent with its fees, and it offers fast advances. But there are some people who are charged higher fees for a $100 advance or lost access to the feature completely with no warning. There's even a report of it withdrawing too early, creating an overdraft, and then support wasn't helpful. So overall, I would say this is a massive improvement from Empower. Empower just turned us off by its fees. This is about average in fees, and so it's a lot better. So we're so happy about that. It brought pricing back down to industry average, which great for them, especially with decent approval odds. And if you're using cash advances regularly, this could be a pretty good option. But the $96 a year in subscriptions is pretty high, and the last thing we want is to add another recurring bill when we're trying to repay bills using cash advances. Earnin is one of the most downloaded neobank apps in the App Store and second only to Chime. Its cash advance feature offers up to $750, which is like one of the highest limits that we've ever seen for cash advances. It offers checking, saving, and credit building tools. There's no monthly fees or minimum balance requirements. There's free overdraft protection up to $200. There's high interest savings accounts options for amounts up to $6,000. Right now it's at 4% APY. There's also early access to your direct deposits. So this is a good app to kind of kill two birds with one stone. You can do all of your banking stuff, and you can also take out cash advances as well, and it's all in one app. You can also have access to short-term credit in 2 ways. There's Paycheck advances, and there's also no fee overdrafts. Okay, so let's take a look at that $750 advance. So most people are gonna start with a lower amount, as is the usual for most cash advances. They're gonna start from around $50 to $100, which is still higher than most of the apps that give you like $25 to start. So there's reports of some people reaching $500 to $700 in advances, and this is after they've used the app consistently with regular paychecks. On Reddit, you can see one of them hit the $750 in 6 months, and the other person hit $500 in a couple of months. So there are some eligibility requirements. You do have to have at least $500 a month in direct deposits into your account. There must be at least 2 consecutive qualifying deposits. They have to come from an employer, a payroll provider, or the government. So sorry to my fellow freelancers and gig workers, you're kind of out of luck with this one. You're kind of SOL with this one. So any payments from like a mobile check, PayPal, or Venmo, those do not count towards the direct deposits. So what does this mean? It means you're gonna have to plan ahead to use this app. This isn't a quick cash type thing. You have to plan ahead, you have to use the app consistently, and you have to use it enough times to get those recurring deposits going. And to increase the amount, you also have to use it consistently. So this is one of those long-term cash advances where you plan ahead and you use it consistently until you get that maximum $750. Okay, fees. There's no subscription fee. Yay! There is no interest, no late fees, no tips. The standard delivery fee, which takes 1 to 3 business days, is also free. If you need it within 1 hour though, you have to pay. The fee is based on the amount borrowed. It is not fully disclosed. It looks like it ranges from between $4.99 to $6.99. Now, disclaimer, there is a request for tips, but you do not have to tip. So it will repay this advance during your next direct deposit. You can also go back in and repay it manually through the app. Current will retry up to 2 more times if the repayment fails the first time. There's no credit reporting and no reporting to collections though, so you can't really do much. However, you can't take out another advance until that one is repaid. This app has good reviews overall. It has 4.8 stars in the Apple Store and 4.6 stars in the Google Play Store. Reviews are over 300,000. There's a lot. Some of the negative feedback that we saw in the reviews was that the limits, the cash advance limits, were fluctuating a lot, which can be kind of confusing. And then also the express fees could be high for some people. It's not high compared to other cash advances, it's about the same, but I could see why some people don't like it. And then also people frustrated with the low starting amounts who wanted the $750 and started with like $50. Current is great if you already bank with them. However, if you don't, it could be kind of hard to get started. If you're already banking with Current, this is a great option to try out. If you want to start banking with them and kind of build that history so you can start taking out higher cash advances, then I have left the link below for you guys to go check it out. Grant is one of the newer and buzzier cash advance apps. It's offered by Kickoff, which is one of the most popular credit builder apps, and it already ranks in the top 50 in the finance apps. This puts it alongside or even ahead of some of the most popular advance apps. Grant also had a wait list of people to use it when it first came out. So what exactly is it that makes Grant so popular? That is what we're going to look into today. So Grant is a no-frills cash advance app. It offers advances anywhere from $25 to $250. The average amount of the first advance is around $79. So that already puts it ahead of a lot of advances that only give you like $25 to start. Quite a few users have reported receiving $50 to $100 for their first advance, so this is already looking pretty good if you're looking for a higher initial amount. It's very standard when it comes to the eligibility requirements. As always, it's not going to check your credit. It's going to connect to your account via Plaid and then look at your account activity. Like some of the other apps we've reviewed here before, it is not available in some states so far, and it also works best for people who are not gig workers, for people who have a regular 9 to 5 and consistent paychecks. There is, however, a feature where you can help the app understand your payment calendar if you are a gig worker, and that might give you a second chance at qualifying, but no promises. So the fees for this app are on the moderate side. You do have to pay a subscription fee. It's $9.99 for Grant Plus. That's gonna offer spending insights, budgeting tools, account alerts. Not really anything too impressive there. However, according to the terms and conditions, you do not have to subscribe to take out a cash advance, which is absolutely not obvious. We only found it by reading the terms and conditions. So we think you probably have to email customer service and ask to opt out of the subscription and still take out an advance. Again, there's not really any details or instructions on how to do that, so we are taking our best guess on that one. Now, there is also a $2 to $8 express fee, which is not mentioned on the website, but will show up in the app when you try to take out an advance. Standard delivery has no express fee, and there's also no interest and no late fees. So far, if you manage to waive that subscription fee, then you can basically use this cash advance app with no extra costs, which is good. So Grant is going to determine when you receive your next paycheck and set that payback time for that time when your paycheck comes in. It's going to take the money out of your paycheck, and the subscription fee, if you're still subscribed to that, it will take out at a separate time. And that's going to be billed to your debit card, whereas the repayment amount is going to be taken directly from your bank account from your paycheck. So there's some flaws with this system. First of all, there is no option to change the repayment date, which has elicited a lot of complaints from users. So that means it's just going to take that money out of your account when it wants to on the day that it says you're going to get your paycheck. And if you don't have enough money in your account, it's going to continuously try to take money out. If you wanted to, technically you can revoke the access, the ACH access, so it stops trying to repay itself. However, there's a lot of repercussions to this. A lot of cash advance apps are making it harder to do that, and there's starting to be consequences for that. If you're trapped in a debt cycle, it might be worth considering, but if it's just like one advance, then we don't necessarily recommend that you do that. You can read up their individual policies on the terms and conditions. From what we found, Grant does not report you to collections, so if you do not repay your balance, it can't really do much to you. However, always do your due diligence before making this decision of whether or not you're going to revoke ACH access. You can read more about this in section 4 of the terms and conditions. Okay, so let's take a look at the reviews. Overall, it's doing pretty good. It's 4.7 out of 5 stars on the App Store and 4.7 out of 5 stars on Google Play. Combined, there's around 25,000 reviews. A lot of the positive feedback is people saying that they like the transparent payment structure. It's very straightforward, and the process is also easy and quick. The downside is the limited ability to change the repayment date, which we've already talked about, poor customer service where people are having a hard time getting a hold of people, and the subscription fee, which amounts to $120 a year, but as we said earlier, you can try to waive that, so that might be a moot point. Overall, I think Grant is a pretty cool app. It's really exciting to see that some of these apps offer higher cash advance amounts right out the gate, which is helpful to a lot of people. Hello, my people. So one of the apps that we reviewed on this channel got sued, and today we're going to talk about it. So by now, most of you are probably familiar with the app Brigit. It is one of the most popular cash advance apps, and it's also our most popular video on this channel. Now, the problem that we had with Brigit was that it was super vague. If you look back at our old video, we were having a hard time figuring out what the fees were, and it was just overall pretty frustrating. We had to contact customer service 6 times to try to get all of the fees associated with a cash advance. And every time they answered, they still weren't clear. Now, apparently we are not the only ones to think that. The FTC ended up suing them for $18 million for misleading advertising. So let's go ahead and go over a list of what they were accused of and what they have changed to bring more transparency to their brand. I'm now going to be joined by my dog. This is Shakti. Everybody say hi. Okay, anyways, Shakti's gonna help me with this video now, apparently, so let's continue. The first thing that Brigit got in trouble for was saying instant cash advances. The cash advances are not, in fact, instant. So now Brigit uses the word fast to describe their cash advances with a footnote that says they'll receive their money usually within 20 minutes. Now, we've tried Brigit to see how long it would take to get the money, and it turns out that it showed up in our account in around 8 minutes, so we think that's pretty good. Even though it's not instant, it's still really fast. In their advertising, they also promised $250 for the cash advance, which was not true because a lot of people did not qualify for that amount. Now Brigit says you can qualify for $50 to $250. Now, there is a bit of a problem with this because it would be better for them to clarify that people, especially people who are taking out a cash advance for the first time, are unlikely to automatically get the $250 cash advance. They do have a helpful article on how you can qualify for a cash advance. However, in this article, they still don't mention anything about how much you can qualify for. They also leave out the fact that some people don't even qualify for a cash advance, so they should be including that as well. In their advertising, they also said free instant transfers. Now, this is also not true. This has never been true. You do have to pay an express fee in order to get the money into your account quickly. The express fee ranges from 99 cents to $3.99, yet they still don't disclose how much the fee is going to be, and this was the exact problem that we had last time, and it still exists. I'm a little bit unhappy about that. I'm a little bit bitter because out of everything, like, this was the one frustration that we had last time, was that they're not being transparent about what the fees are for the express option. Last time we also emailed Brigit's customer service and did not receive a reply about the fees. So to me, there is still a major lack of transparency with this express fee option. And the last thing, Brigit made it extremely hard for people to cancel cancel, which is now biting them in the butt. Brigit charges $9.99 a month to have access to the cash advance feature. They will not let you cancel if you still have an outstanding balance. Brigit made it intentionally hard and confusing to do it. So because of this, Brigit has agreed to basically revamp their cancellation process to be more clear to customers when they'll be billed and give a clear outline on how to cancel, as well as making it easier for them to do so. So where does Brigit go from here? So Brigit was sued for $18 million, and that money is being given to the FTC, which is then going to be used to refund customers who were billed. Brigit still has its spot as the top downloaded cash advance app, so we don't think that's going to change anytime soon. A lot of the information still lacked transparency. A lot of it was in the fine print or still like almost impossible to find, like the express fees. And that was really surprising, especially after Brigit getting sued. You'd think that they would be a lot more careful and a lot more transparent. However, if you can qualify for that higher amount of around the $250 and you're using it more than once a month to take out cash advances, then it is an option that you guys can look into. So just be mindful that it's not the most transparent app, but it can still be helpful. All right, let me take my glasses off. Okay, so I sliced my knuckle open the other day and I put this Pokemon Band-Aid on it, and now it's just like this really creepy Psyduck eyes staring at you upside down. Hello everyone, I am back, your cash advance queen. I kind of like that. I think I might run with that. As you all know, my channel is about cash advances and which ones are better to use than others. And today I'm actually going to be doing the work of actually taking out a cash advance myself. I want to start comparing them, and I'm going to look at two factors. One, how long it takes me to take out a cash advance, and then also two, how much I get qualified for. I'm kind of excited to see. I don't know what they're going to qualify me for. They say usually around $250 to $500 depending on the app, but they say like your first advances before you've used the app a lot might be a little bit smaller. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how small of an amount they're gonna give me for the first cash advance. So the first one that I'm gonna be doing is Dave, and that's gonna set the baseline for all of the other apps to compare them to. So I'm really excited to get started, and let's see what it gives us. Okay, so when I first log in, it says get $500, up to $500 when you need it. So I'm a little bit skeptical that it's gonna qualify me for that much initially. First thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is sign up. So I need to put in my email and password, which I will not show you for obvious reasons. Then they're gonna ask you for the first name and the last name, just like most other things you sign up for. And then it's going to ask for your mobile number, which I'm also not gonna show you. So we're gonna do something creative to block that part out. Okay, it's going to send a verification text message, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in the number that it gives me just to verify my account. And then it's gonna ask if I wanna do like a Face ID password type thing, which I'm gonna skip for now. And then it's gonna ask me for an ID passcode, which I'm gonna put in. It's 4 digits. Overall, this part is probably the lengthiest part of the process, but it's still really simple. This app so far is pretty user-friendly and it's easy to do everything. It's just a little bit time consuming to do all the authentication stuff. Authentication. What? Y'all know what word I'm trying to say, right? Okay, so now this glaring button that says get started, I'm gonna press that because I assume that's how you get started. And then it is going to ask me to connect my bank account. I'm almost tempted to say I don't have a bank account and see what it does, but for the sake of this video, we're actually gonna do this like for realsies. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect my bank account. Your bank account is gonna go ahead and connect through Plaid, and Plaid is safe and secure. It does not give the app your password, it does not take your password, and it can't make transactions without your permission. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and enter my debit card information because they're asking me for that. I'm going to cut all of that out, but just pretend like I did it. Now, again, it's asking for your legal name. I like how it already has like the autofill in from the last time we put it in. And then it's gonna ask for our home address, so we're gonna fill that out. Then it's gonna ask you to verify your email. I'm going to go ahead and do do that, it's gonna send a notification to my email. And once that's done, it says I'm good to go, yay. This part is like a little bit tedious, not gonna lie. Like, it's not hard at all, but it's just like annoying. But I guess that is a price you have to pay to get quick money. So this better be worth it, guys. Like, if I get like $10, I'm gonna be upset. Now it's gonna ask what my date of birth is, and then my social security number, which I'm definitely not putting into this video. And then it's going to just ask for your confirmation for all of that information, and you have to agree to their terms or whatever, and then you should be able to open your account. Okay, so now it is saying it's opening my account, and this little progress bar is making me very impatient. I want to see what I was approved for. I doubt it's gonna be 500, but I hope it's something a little, like at least 100.
A few moments later. I can't do the accent.
It was not, in fact, 100. It was 25. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit disappointed. At least we got approved, right? We got $25. I feel like also in the grand scheme of things, if someone's taking out a cash advance, like in an emergency, it might be like for groceries or something like that, and the $25 can definitely carry them over. The fact that you can get this money super fast is still super helpful, even if it's a smaller amount. It's also not telling me exactly why I didn't qualify for more, so that's a little bit frustrating, because I'm like, how do I know what to fix in order to get approved for more, you know? I'm also a freelancer, hence the video that I'm currently making for you all. But my pay is really sporadic and the amounts are really fluctuate a lot. So I'm really thankful that Dave approves freelancers like me, but at the same time, people who have more stable income are probably more likely to get a higher approval amount. With all the research that I've done on cash advance apps so far, I also know that this is pretty normal for them to approve me for a really low amount in the beginning, and then as you start building up credibility and using the app more often, it'll start to increase the amount of money that it gives you, and that can happen pretty quickly, like within a few weeks. Okay, so now it's going to give me 3 different options on how to deposit this money. The first one is going to be to a Dave spending account, and it's going to charge you $1.99 for that. You can also have it sent to your regular debit card for $2.99, and it'll send it there for under an hour, so that's kind of like express option. And then the third option, if you plan ahead, it can send it directly to your bank account within 2 to 3 business days. So if you need the money fast, that's probably not a viable option, but if you plan ahead and know that you're gonna need some extra money or need to take out a cash advance, then you can plan for that. That is free, so you don't have to pay a fee for that. I personally decided to go with the Dave spending account for the $1.99 just because it was the lowest fee. And it also looks like I get the money instantly with this option. It's going to automatically repay the fee and the cash advance after 5 days, but you can always go in and change the date of that. You just can't take out another cash advance app from Dave, but it's not going to charge you like any other late fees. Also, shameless plug here, if you guys are interested in knowing all the ins and outs of Dave specifically and all of the fees and the options, you can take a look at the YouTube video I made that specifically goes up. Why can I not talk? You can check out the video I made specifically for the Dave app that goes over all of the ins and outs of all of the fees and how it compares to all of the other cash advance apps. So after the cash advance for Dave is complete, it is going to ask you for a tip, and it says, help us stay in business. There's also a little bit of a guilt trip because it provides free meals through Feeding America depending on the percentage of your tip. So it does make you feel a little weird like skipping that. The recommended tip they say is 15%, so that's $3.75 on top of the fee that I already paid, $1.99 for only a $25 cash advance, which I really don't like because that's like almost half of the cash advance gone just in fees and tips. Dave doesn't really make it obvious, but you can opt out at the tip if you go to the custom tip option and then click $0, and that's basically how you do it. Okay, so it looks like Dave put the $25 instantly on a debit card for me, which is nice. That was super fast, and it's virtual, so I can make a purchase online instantly, or I can transfer it to something like Apple Pay and be able to buy a physical purchase. And then in a few days, it's also gonna send me a physical debit card that I can use to make purchases and also get money out of an ATM. And then timing wise, from the time it took me to open an account and take out the $25 and actually see it like in my account or on a debit card for me to use, was only about 6 minutes. So that is pretty fast. I'm curious to see how the other apps compare to this one and if I can get a higher amount from one of the other apps. But overall, this was a really simple process for Dave. Although I wish it had given me more money to start with, I think $25 is definitely helpful in a lot of situations where you need quick cash. Most cash advances trap you in a cycle. Full repayment is due on payday and one lump sum completely wipes out your paycheck. So you need another advance right away and then you're borrowing again and the cycle continues. It's easy to rack up hundreds of dollars in fees per year while you're already tight on money. What if there was a smarter way? A way to make ends meet without it trapping you? So let's get into it. Seattle-based Possible Finance has been around since 2017. It has over 1 million members and it's also a public benefits corporation. This is important to you as a consumer and that's because a public benefit corporation has it written into their legal charter that they're required to balance profit with a larger mission. Think of companies like Patagonia or Kickstarter. Doing well and doing good isn't optional, it's actually built into the legal framework of how they operate. For Possible, that means no hidden fees, no debt traps, and products that actually help their customer. So what makes Possible different from the other cash advances? Well, for one thing, most cash advances offer a automatic repayment. Now, they take this out of your bank account in one lump sum on usually your very next payday. So that's gonna wipe out your paycheck, then you're gonna have to take out another advance to cover it, and then the cycle starts. And you're usually charged whether you take out an advance or not. And then on top of that, they charge usually another $5 or $10 or more for an express fee if you wanna get the money really quick. The upside is that nothing gets reported to credit bureaus, so if you're late on payment, that's a plus. However, that means you also can't build credit either, so that's a downside for people who are actually paying back on time. Possible Loan helps you take control of your own finances and stop cycling through endless cash advances week after week. First of all, you can pay over time in installments. You don't have to pay it back in one lump sum. There's flexible repayment terms and there's no late fees or penalties, which is a huge plus. You can also build credit history, which is something that most of these cash advances don't offer. You can get qualified for up to $500 in minutes. You can do this through the Possible Finance app or the website, and it does not affect your credit score. You also won't pay a thing if you don't qualify or if the offer just isn't right for you. Possible also knows that you're more than your credit score, so there's no FICO check. A low credit score isn't going to stop you from being approved. Possible automatically reviews your paycheck deposit history, along with your income, transactions, and cash flow, and the timing of when you apply. And if you're not approved for the full amount you requested, Possible will still give you the highest amount available. And you could get your money pretty much instantly. 95% of Possible customers get the money sent to their debit card within minutes. It's really easy to download the Possible Finance app to see what you qualify for. I will link that down below in the comments so you can check it out. You can pay over time. Now, this is the huge differentiator. This is what sets Possible Finance apart from all of the other apps. While most apps demand a repayment in a full lump sum on your next payday, Possible Finance will let you pay in installments. This is 4 installments over the course of 8 weeks, so it leaves a lot of breathing room, which is super helpful. So the cost is $10 to $25 per $100 borrowed. So for example, I'm in California, so if I took out a $200 loan, it's gonna be $18 per $100. So at the total is gonna be around $235, $36 that I need to pay back. But I can do that in 4 bi-weekly installments of $59 over the course of 8 weeks. They also have a really helpful tool that can help you estimate your rates before you commit. It's called the Real Cost Calculator, and you can find it either in the app or at possiblefinance.com. There's no late fees or penalties ever, and if you need more time, that's available. You can move repayment dates up to 29 days out from the original scheduled date, and there's no rescheduling fee. Now, you can change this repayment date directly in the app, which makes it a much smoother process than a lot of other apps that we've reviewed before. Now, you can also build credit with this app as well. They're going to report your on-time payments to 2 credit bureaus, Experian and TransUnion. And this is going to give you the opportunity to build credit as you take out a loan. Making on-time payments is one of the biggest factors in raising your credit score, and most cash advance apps do not offer this, which is another indirect reason why people keep getting stuck in the cycle, because they can't qualify for anything else with a low credit score, but they can't build their credit score using these advances, so there's really like no way out. So with Possible, it's different because you can actually make your on-time payments and get rewarded for that by building your credit. Possible is very highly rated. It has over 100,000 ratings. It has 4.8 stars on the App Store and 4.6 stars on Google Play. People love their fast approval and funding and the fact that they can actually use this product to build credit. The flexible installment payments is also something that's mentioned quite a lot, and this is a huge differentiator from a lot of the other apps. Some of the complaints is that there is no customer support phone number. There's only email. So that means when something goes wrong, you're gonna be waiting a bit for a reply. There's also funding delays for some customers. A small number of people reported that they had to wait 4 to 6 business days to get their funds, while most will get their funds in minutes. So if there's a true emergency, this is good to know. There's also word of plaid bank connection glitches, a really common problem that we hear across a lot of apps, and the possible loan is only available in 33 states, so some states will not qualify. They have genuinely innovative products, transparent pricing, an opportunity to build credit, but the lack of a customer support phone number and also some delays in funding is definitely something to keep an eye on. So getting started with Possible Finance is super quick and easy. You just download their app. The app, of course, is called Possible Finance. You can see if you qualify and how much you're approved for, and that happens directly in the app. Are you familiar with paying for options like through Klarna or Afterpay? Those are really useful sometimes for online shopping, but what about when it comes to bills? So I have actually found an app that mimics this type of a payment, but it is specifically for bill payments. The app is called DeferIt. Unlike cash advances, it is a loan, but you can pay the money in 4 installments with no interest. So I thought it would be worth it to talk a little bit about it today. The starting balance also seems to be a lot higher than cash advances. You can get anywhere from $100 to $400 as your initial payment to help pay the bills. So unlike cash advances, it's basically just going to break up your bill payment into 4 different installments. This can come in handy if you don't have all of that money up front to pay off a bill. You can break it up, and then it might even prevent you from having to take out cash advances to pay a bill in full. So initially, to qualify in order to use the service, it will do a soft credit check. That means it will not affect your credit score. You also have to have a card linked as well for automatic deduction. So once you qualify, you're gonna go ahead and submit a bill. You'll need to submit a photo of that bill through the app or the website, and then specify the amount and the date that you want the bill to be paid. The approval time will be before 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it's after that, you'll be approved the next business day. If you have more than one bill that you want to upload, you do have to pay the first 2 installments of each bill before you're allowed to upload a new one. And the bill amount also cannot exceed the available balance that you have. Once it's accepted, you'll receive a notification, and DeferIt will pay your bill within 2 business days. The first installment will be paid right away when the bill is approved before DeferIt pays it. So that's kind of like your deposit. And then the rest of the installments will be paid every 2 weeks. The available balance will also increase the more that you use this app and pay the bills on time. Also, there's rumor that even if you have low credit, you might still be able to qualify for the 4 payment installment. If you have clean payment history and no defaults or bankruptcies, and you're starting with smaller bills, there's a higher chance that you'll be approved. There's also an option that does not require a credit check, so if you have bad credit, you can also still use this. It's just not going to be the 4 payments. There's an option called Bill Pay, which is a pay-in-one feature. You can use it to pay bills upfront using your credit or debit card, and it does report to credit bureaus, so you will benefit from the credit reporting if you're paying these bills through DeferIt. So for the membership fees, it's $14.99. This will give you access to their credit builder, bill savings, and then the pay in 4 installments. There are really steep late fees though, so pay attention. If the payment is 2 days late, it's going to charge you $10 and an additional $8 if it proceeds to be as late as 7 days. The late fees are capped at 25% or $68, whichever one is more expensive. If you want to waive the late fees, however, you can pay $19.99 a month. But also keep in mind that any late fees might restrict access to your account. Now, what I really liked about this app was the bill savings option. So it's actually gonna help you negotiate lower prices on your bills. If they're successful in that negotiation, you don't owe them any fees for this, but if they are successful in the negotiation, you do have to pay them 50% of the annual amount that you've saved because of their negotiation. But I still think that's worth it. So there are a few complaints through the BBB. There's a few people who have paid their first installment to get their bill paid, and then they just never heard from the company, and the bill still hasn't been paid. And there was also reports of inaccurate information being reported to the credit bureaus, such as reporting the payment status as unknown, which is turning up to be 0% of the money paid when it's reported to the credit bureaus. So that is a little bit sketchy. So those are the downsides to look out for. 4 payment installments with no interest is a really interesting concept, and I think it would be helpful for a lot of people, along with the bill negotiation. I think both of those options together would be worth the $14.99 subscription fee, even though it is a little bit higher than typical cash advance fees for subscriptions. Normally with cash advances, you will see advertisements for large amounts of money. However, we all know, or if you didn't know, you're about to know, when you take out an advance for the first time, it's going to give you a pretty low amount to begin with, and then you have to work your way up to a larger amount. So I think we've solved that problem today, or not us, but this app that we're about to talk about. And that app is called Upstart, and it is newly launched in the market. And get this, there is a guaranteed minimum of $200 for users. That is the highest starting floor in the industry. If you thought that was good, here's something even better. So once you're approved, your limit will never go down. Okay, before we get started, I need you guys to do me a huge favor. I would love it if you found something helpful with our channel to please subscribe and please click on the little notification button so you'll know when we release new information on different cash advances. All right, let's get into the video. So first, it's important to mention that Upstart is not a startup business. It's actually been established since 2012. And they're publicly traded on NASDAQ with a $3 billion market cap. Their whole mission is to get credit to people who deserve it but don't necessarily qualify through traditional methods. As it turns out, traditional credit scoring leaves millions of Americans unable to take out a loan. Upstart's data shows that 4 out of 5 Americans have never actually defaulted on a loan, yet less than half can actually access prime credit. Their AI is going to look beyond your credit score to look at other factors to see what the probability is of you repaying. There's 4 million plus borrowers for Upstart, and that's anywhere from loans, auto refinancing, and even the newest product, Cashlii. This company has really built its reputation by saying yes to its customers who have been turned down by other lenders. So Cashlii is the feature that we want to talk about. It's a personal credit that you can draw from anytime and you don't need to reapply for it. If approved, you have 24/7 access to the funds, and you can also take out the funds in $50 increments up to your limit. So this would look like 50, 100, 150, 200. Basic math. You can only have one draw active at a time, and you have to pay that back before you can take out another draw. But there's no interest and no late fees on draws up to $500. So here's a really good feature. Repayment is manual. Now this is pretty much unheard of in most of the cash advances we've reviewed. Usually there's a set date where it will automatically take out the money. So this is very consumer friendly because you can pick a date when you know you'll actually have money in your account. Here's something we're wondering though, what happens to your account if you're late on payment? And this is something we do not know the answer to. Now they do have a subscription, and that is automatically paid monthly, as all subscriptions are, so just keep that in mind. However, if you sign up but you don't take a draw, then you can actually be refunded the subscription fee, so that's really nice. And remember, once you're approved, your limit's only gonna go up, never down. Okay, so let's take a look at pricing. The subscription fee is $10 a month for draws up to $500. No tips, no surprise fees, so this is pretty transparent and pretty straightforward. Okay, but here's something even better. Most apps charge a separate express fee to take out money quickly. This amount can range from $3 to $10 per transaction. With Cashlii, that is included in the $10 subscription fee. For draws above 500, a low APR does apply. It's 5 to 36% APR. However, most of our viewers here, I assume, are going to be borrowing less than $500, so that's probably not even something you're gonna have to worry about. Cashline's looking pretty good, especially when you compare it to apps like Brigit, who charges $8.99 to $14.99 a month just for the subscription, and then you have to pay the express fee on top of it. However, it is so new that there's a lot we still don't know. For example, you know how I mentioned earlier they say yes to people that would traditionally get turned away from lenders? We don't know what that process is. We don't know what their AI uses to determine the qualification. It does actually perform a credit check, which is unlike a lot of the apps. And so, is there a minimum credit to qualify? We also don't know that either. There's also no user reviews yet. Like, this is absolutely brand new. So you're gonna wanna watch Reddit and the App Store to see them start trickling in. Now the app itself has 29,000 ratings and 4.9 stars. However, that is for their previous products and not this new Cashlii product. So just keep that in mind if you go into the app and see a bunch of reviews already. So first of all, it's only available on iOS right now, so the Android users out there are SOL. We all know Apple's better. However, it should be available to them at some point, so they can already join the waitlist. It's also not available in many of the states, such as Illinois and New York and 20 others. You have to check the waitlist page to see if your state is supported or not. It's also currently in beta, so you have limited access until more of the features are rolled out, and this should be coming later in 2026. And then there's also the downside of only having one draw at a time, so if you're waiting to pay it back, you cannot take out another one, which kind of sucks if you need some money mid-draw and you can't do it. However, I will say that $200 guaranteed minimum and the fact that it will never be lowered is pretty enticing and a pretty dang good deal. There's also transparent pricing, the express fees included. We have just so many good things to say about this app so far. The only iffy part is the questions we have around accessibility, but I'm sure as the app is around longer, we're gonna get a better feel for who qualifies and who doesn't. It's worth it to check it out and sign up for the waitlist if you can. If you need some extra money to get out of a tight spot or pay some bills, but don't want to get a personal loan and don't necessarily want to take out a cash advance, then I would highly suggest peer-to-peer lending. One such platform is called Solo Funds. It basically connects individual borrowers that have short-term needs with individual lenders. The lenders can browse through the borrower's requests and choose who they want to lend the money to, and then the borrower will agree to repay that money, usually within 35 days. Now, the good thing about this is that you're basically borrowing and lending with strangers, but it's through a secure platform that's going to make sure that there's no funny business. This is what sets it apart from other peer-to-peer groups, like especially the Reddit groups, where someone can just run off with your money and never pay you back. So in order to be eligible to use this platform, you must be 18 years or older, have a valid US bank account, complete identity verification, which might include linking a debit card or taking a picture of your ID. But get this, like cash advances, there is no credit check performed. So if you have bad credit, you can still technically use this platform. Once you're eligible, you can post a request. This can range from $20 to $625, and then you explain what you need it for and your payment terms. And then other members in the community marketplace who are lenders will read through it and decide if they want to loan you the money. Your request will sit there for 3 days. If there's no bites, it'll just disappear. So it's not guaranteed that anyone will fund it, but it is a good option to try regardless. So because it's not based on credit score, this app is actually going to make a fake score based on your banking activity and your ability to repay other loans that you've taken out through this platform. It'll also report the payments that you're making through this platform to the credit bureau, so it can help you build credit if you have bad credit to start with. Your first loan has to max out at $100, and then you can gradually increase the limit of what you're able to ask for. It'll increase that limit as long as you're paying back those loans on time. So Solo actually markets itself as a no-fee platform, which means you technically don't have to pay APR or fees. However, there's a tipping system, and you are expected to pay your lender in tips. The average borrower will pay about 17% in tips and donations to the platform. So the lender tip is about 10% on average, and the platform donation is about 6% on average. So that can actually rack up pretty quickly, but it's good if it's your only option and you haven't been able to get into cash advances and you don't want to take out a traditional loan. They have actually gotten in trouble with the CFPB about this because the CFPB was arguing that the tips are basically serving as interest and that it was exceeding annual percentage rates of 300% APR, but the lawsuit was dismissed in early 2025. Now, late payments. There are late payments. If you are late, Solo will charge you 10% of the total amount of the loan or $5, whichever is higher. And then after 90 days, they will send you to collections. That is something that most cash advance apps don't do, and that's why a lot of people choose to use cash advances over loans. But if you make your payments on time, it shouldn't matter. If you want to improve your odds of getting selected through Solo Funds to be lent to, then we highly recommend that you are very exact in your description. You need to list the exact amount of what you need to be paid, why you need the loan, but be specific and don't give vague or sketchy answers. Start small, like $50 to $100 at first, especially if it's the first time you're using this platform. Offer a larger tip and also offer a shorter period in which you can repay that money. Also, good communication. If someone is texting you with questions, make sure you answer promptly and keep up with the community. It's basically functioning like Reddit Varo, if you've heard of that, but it's more regulated. It can be a process and there is no guarantee you'll be funded, like I said. Well-known fintech companies are now jumping into cash advances. Upgrade, Upstart, and now Self. No monthly subscription fee, transparent express fees that we actually like, and no credit check. So let's find out if Self Cash is worth your attention. Self Financial has been around since 2017, and it started out as a credit builder loan. It has a strong 4.9 stars in the Apple Store and 4.4 stars in Google Play. Now, Self Cash is a new product and different from the credit builder product, and you don't have to be a credit builder customer to use Self Cash. But if you're already a customer, self-cash is already in your app. Just click the borrow button and see if you qualify. Okay, before we get started, I need you guys to do me a huge favor. I would love it if you found something helpful with our channel to please subscribe and please click on the little notification button so you'll know when we release new information on different cash advances. Okay, so getting an offer takes about 5 minutes or less. So here's the process. Head to the Borrow tab in the Self app and then connect your bank accounts using Plaid, plus whatever debit card is tied to it. And then you're gonna find out if you qualify. Now there's no credit check. Now, if you're approved, you get to choose your amount. It's gonna be anywhere from $25 to $300, but we've learned from Q3 info in 2025 from Self itself that the average amount is around $80. New users always typically start lower. Returning customers are the ones that are gonna get the higher $300 range. Then you're gonna choose your form of delivery. So if you want to just use the standard transfer, that's an ACH transfer and it's gonna take about 1 to 3 business days. There's no fees for that. We'll get into all the fee amounts in just a second, but first I wanna talk about repayment really quick. So in terms of repayment, they're gonna auto debit your linked debit card. That's on a scheduled date, and they'll actually personalize your scheduled date based on how much money you have in the account. No interest, no late fees, no return payment fees, and there is no sending to collections. However, it is only available in 26 states as of early 2026. Now here's where self-cash really shines, and I think people really undersell this part. The subscription fees, first of all, there's nothing. 0, which is very rare to find in cash advances. For example, Brigit charges $8.99 to $14.99 a month. Tilt is $8 a month. Dave is $5 a month. And then there's some apps that even charge you before they qualify you for an advance. You can end up paying a subscription fee and not even be able to take money out. And then there's also apps that charge you before you're even able to qualify. So if you don't qualify for their advance, you have just wasted money on a subscription that is essentially useless. It only charges you if you borrow and if you want the money quickly. Now, another thing we like is the instant fees. These are very transparent, which is amazing. Applause to Step for that. For a $25 to a $75 advance, it's going to cost $3.99 to $5.99. A $100 to a $150 advance is going to cost $6.99 to $9.99. And a $200 to $300 advance is going to cost $12.99 to $14.99. So for borrowing $100, your total flat fee is going to be somewhere between $6.99 to $9.99, and that's just a flat fee. Because of the ease and the transparency, this is an amazing app to have on your phone. So for comparison, one of our favorite apps is Chime MyPay, and we love it because the fees are low. It's gonna be around $2 to $5 as a flat fee to take out in advance. However, with Chime MyPay, one of the biggest issues is that you already have to have an account open with them. So you can't just get money if you need it like on a random Wednesday for whatever reason. Self-cash costs a little bit more than that. However, you do not have to have any existing account, so you can check to see if you qualify right away. You don't have to do anything fancy like wait for a direct deposit, open a new account, have like employer information. So overall, this app is looking pretty good. But here's something to keep in mind about Self's ratings. The 4.9 stars and the 4.4 stars are for the credit builder loan, not the cash advance. There's not enough information right now to look at reviews for this, as very few people are calling it out, and it was just launched somewhere in 2025. So we, being the people that we are, of course, went to Reddit, and some of the users we saw had issues with qualifications, and some reported differing offer amounts, and there was also reports that not everybody qualified either. But this is kind of to be expected as the app is new, so it's gonna go through some growing pains. We can say that the overall company has 4.3 stars on Trustpilot, which is a very, very good sign. And that's based on 1,300 plus reviews. There's a lot of praise for the credit builder and the company's mission, but there's also some complaints about customer support, which tends to be the case for almost all of the cash advances. So the jury's technically still out, but we have enough information about the company as a whole to say that this product seems pretty legit. So we would say overall this app is best for self-users who are already existing, because then the process is simplified even more, and also anyone who wants to take out an advance when they need it and not have to have like a monthly subscription or take it out consistently. The two things to watch out for is the low starting price. You're not going to start at that $300, so just keep that in mind. And then also that it's only available to a limited number of states, so make sure you double check that to make sure it's in your area. True Finance has cracked the top 100 apps in the finance category in the App Store. This is a lesser known cash advance app, and it currently has 4.8 star ratings from over 10,000 users. And unlike a lot of other cash advances, there's also options to earn money as well. It does this through games and surveys, and also has built-in credit monitoring. So I want to know, this app sounds really interesting. Is there a catch or not? First off, right off the bat, we find out that True Finance caps your cash advances to $100. This is a lot less than most of the other apps that we've reviewed. However, some of the features might make it worth it, so let's keep going. Most users start with the $25 to $50 range for their first advance. On the website, it says that the average is $41, which is higher than the average for a lot of the other apps, so not bad, not great, kind of in the middle. There's also a true rewards feature where you can earn money by downloading apps, playing games, taking surveys. Like all the other apps, it also does not check your credit score. It connects to your bank account using Plaid and looks at your account history. In order to use the app, you do have to meet certain requirements. You have to be at least 18, you have to be a US citizen, or a lawful permanent resident with a social security number or a TIN. Income from gig work or the government might actually qualify if it meets the requirements. However, this is where it gets a little weird. You'll also need a bank account that's at least 90 days old, shows at least 3 recurring direct deposits, and at least $1,000 in monthly deposits, which is a bit higher than some of the other apps require. True Finance will look at your account activity, your transaction history, and your balance, and determine if you're eligible for an advance. Okay, so let's break down the costs. So there's no interest and no late fees and no tips. It does charge you a $3.99 subscription fee, which is, you have to basically pay that to get access to the advances. The standard delivery is free and that will arrive in 1 to 2 business days, or you can use the express option. This is called the rapid advance feature, and it charges you anywhere from $2.99 to $5.99 depending on how much the advance is for. So overall, it'll cost you $9.98 for a $100 advance, which I would say is pretty good. Repayment fees, these are due in 1 installment on a date that you choose when you take out the advance, and it's also going to pay back those express fees at the same time. It will try to repay using your linked debit card first, and if that fails, it's going to reattempt using ACH. It will try to repay itself up to 2 additional times, or you could also go back in and manually repay it. So the burning question, what happens if you just revoke access and don't pay it back? It won't report the credit, it won't send you to collections, and it will not charge you any late fees, but it will deny you access to future cash advances, and it does reserve the right to pursue fraud cases, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's talk about the earning opportunities. So these are things like playing games, downloading apps, taking surveys. They're through third parties that are connected to the app, and let's take a look at how much you can earn from that. It does require a $10 minimum cash out, and then if you're new and you've just created the account, you have to wait 72 hours to be able to cash out. So this reminds me of the other cash advance app that we reviewed called Super Plus, and you could also earn money for taking surveys and playing games and things like that. However, there's one difference. The Super Plus charges you a whopping $15.99 in subscription fees to even have access to the feature. So compared to that, True Finance looks great. True also has 4.8 stars in the App Store with over 10,000 reviews and 4.7 on Google Play with over 1,000 reviews. There's a lot of positive feedback about the rewards option for extra cash, the transparency, and the quickness of the entire process. However, as we've said before, there was negative feedback about how the $100 limit is small for a lot of people. There were also complaints about the $3.99 subscription fee not being transparent enough. So it's a good thing you guys have us to tell you before you attempt to use it. True is great if you want a low-cost, fast option, but not so great for people who don't want to cap their advance at $100. Hello everybody, we have found another cash advance app that deserves a review. This one is called Blinc. Let's talk about the app, what you need to qualify, the fees, if it's worth it, and how it compares to the other apps. But first, let's talk about the cash advance limit. So this app, along with most of the other apps, will give you a cash advance up to $250. And like all apps, when you're first taking out your first advance, it is not going to give you an amount that high. Now with this one, we do know what the starting amount is, and it's $50. So that's higher than most of the other apps. Most of the other apps start at like $25 and can increase from there. So in terms of eligibility, there's no credit check, just like all of the other apps. Qualifying and signing up to use the app takes 10 minutes. That is quite a long time compared to a lot of the other apps that we've reviewed, and it's also kind of clunky and slow at times. I'm gonna ask you some kind of uncommon information like your employer's name and also how long you've worked for them. You'll need to provide your debit card info that is linked to the account where you receive the payments from your employer, and you'll have to do this before you know how much you're approved for. So like most of the other apps, you'll be using Plaid to connect your bank account to this app. Plaid is a secure platform, and it just is like the go-between between the app and your bank account, basically. No direct deposit, which is great. So if you're a gig worker, there is a possibility that you'll qualify. So they'll say that you have to work with a supported employer in order to qualify. However, we don't, and we still got qualified for it. So I would just try it out and see if it lets you. You'll also need to register your debit card to receive the funds and pay the fees. So as we stated before, the amount that you're going to qualify for first is most likely going to be $50. Now there's a loyalty system with this app, so the longer that you use it, the more it's going to increase your cash advance amount. So after 1 month of using this app, the limit's going to increase to $60, and then it's going to increase $15 to $25.
Here he goes. One step for every dollar you miss the prize.
For every month after that you use the app. And this is going to continue to happen until you hit that 250 maximum level. So one important thing to note here is that you do need to make on-time payments in order to allow that amount to increase. If you're late on a payment, it's going to fall right back down to the minimum amount and you have to start all over again building up that track record. Another very helpful feature is that you can actually set your repayment day before you get the cash advance. It'll even allow you to push that date 30 days beyond your next payday, and you have control over when you do it. And you can do all that before you even take out the money. So we think this is good because a lot of the apps don't have this feature, and a lot of them will just automatically take it out of your next paycheck. So having more control over this feature is very good. We give it a thumbs up for that. Now for the fees, this is where this app is going to get a little bit interesting. So in terms of fees, there is a subscription fee. It's $8.99 to use the app, and you do have to pay that upfront before you even know if you're going to qualify. So that's very unfortunate. I don't like to see that. So thumbs down for that after we just gave it a thumbs up. So in order to increase your limit, how we were saying it starts at the 50 and then it goes to the 250 over time, you have to keep paying for the subscription fee. So by the end of the year, it's going to be $108 just to get to that $250 amount. Does not seem like the best way to do things in my opinion. However, it is really easy to cancel if you decide you want to do that. Unlike some of the other apps like Brigit, MoneyLion that are getting sued and have like massive fines because they're making it super difficult. Blinc is like super upfront about it and it's easy to cancel. So at least there's that positive. Besides the subscription fee, there's also an express fee of $4.99. That's optional though. That's if you want the money right away. If you don't want to pay the express fee, then you'll get the money within 3 days. So we recommend planning ahead of time always in terms of express fees so you don't have to pay them. And there's no interest and no tips either. I would say these are reasonable fees and they are lower than most of the other apps. Problem is if you're trying to get to that 250 max amount, it does add up to that $108 a year, but if you use cash advances often enough and consistently enough and you're trying to get to that 250 max, then this could definitely be worth your time. Let's look at the ratings and reviews because after our Beem video from last time, we have learned that it is very important to check those for fake reviews. The same exact review posted by someone named Bruno, Nicole, and another user. So long story, you can see the video here if you want to watch it. But anyways, this looks promising. There's good ratings on these apps. This one has an average of 4.7 stars on the App Store and 4.2 stars on Google Play. So that's really good. And then if you read through the reviews, there's actually some great ones about people praising the app for qualifying them when they were having trouble with other cash advances. So people like gig workers or people who have not gotten qualified with more of the popular cash advance apps. I would recommend you guys try this one and see if you get qualified, because like we said, we got qualified and we didn't meet some of their requirements. So this seems like an app that's more lenient on who can take out a cash advance. So good signs there. And then there's also positive reviews about the transparency, which we appreciated as well with the fees and the loan amounts. So negative reviews, as expected, were complaining about the sign up process taking super long. It is what it is. 10 minutes in the grand scheme of things isn't super long, but it is long compared to the other apps that we've used. And they also complain about the app having a lot of glitches, which how did I know? In the beginning of this, I said it looks like it's not super user-friendly. So looks like I was right about that. So just keep those points in mind. But overall, it looks like it's pretty positive. A few other points to note about Blinc. We recommend planning ahead so you don't have to pay these express fees. However, if you want your money in the blink of an eye, you can definitely use them. It also seems like they're kind of changing their website over time. So there's a first bit of information that says you have to be a federal employee to qualify, but they are talking about a specific loan and not the cash advance feature, so that can get a little bit confusing. They also have different names. There's like one Blinc, Blinc Loans, and Blinc Advance, and they kind of use those three at different times on different pages of the website. So just a little bit of discrepancies there. I wouldn't say it's a super big deal, but it can just be a little bit confusing. There's also a few added extras. There's some cash advance features. We looked at them. They're not super exciting. There's nothing like really out of the ordinary with those. They have credit building tools, articles, and also partner deals to help you manage your money. So if you're interested in any of those features, I definitely recommend that you check them out along with the cash advance option. So overall, I would say this is a pretty good app. The fees are pretty much in line with the other cash advance apps. We don't see anything super sketchy, and we were able to get qualified pretty easily. So we're gonna add this cash advance app to our list of one of the good cash advances to try out. Hello my people, if you guys are looking into using a cash advance app and you need some quick cash, then this is definitely the video for you. We took 15 of the most popular cash advance apps and we compared them all of the fees and the features, and we're gonna let you know which apps are the best and which ones are worth skipping. So the one that we're gonna be looking at today is called MoneyLion. MoneyLion is a cash advance app that allows you to borrow up to $250 with no credit check, no interest, and it claims that there is a way to borrow money where you don't have to pay any fees. However, let's take a look and see if this is actually as good as it looks. So let's go ahead and break this down. MoneyLion is definitely one of the most popular cash advance apps, which makes it easy and more affordable to rapidly borrow a little extra cash. The company was founded in 2013 and boasts over 6 million users. MoneyLion does a lot more than just cash advances as well. It has products and features for banking, investing, building credit, budgeting, and more. Instead of a credit check, MoneyLion is going to link to your bank account and look at your payment history, such as your recurring income through your paycheck or from gig work. And then it's going to determine how much you're eligible for in terms of a cash advance. This whole process takes only a few minutes and you might qualify for the full amount of $250. However, it is common to be capped at a smaller amount to begin with until you build history using the app. And if you take out a credit builder loan, you can increase the $250 total to $300. The name of the cash advance is called Instant Cash through MoneyLion, and the whole process takes only a few minutes. You'll see your money either directly in your bank account or through the MoneyLion Roar Money account and debit card. It'll also schedule an automatic repayment of this cash advance once it sees that you have sufficient funds in your account. If you need more time, you can always push the date forward, but just remember you can't take out another cash advance until you pay off that first one. Okay, as for cost, you can use a lot of the features of MoneyLion for free. There is no interest fee and there is no subscription fee, so that is pretty cool. A lot of cash advance apps have subscription fees. If you want the money instantly, you can pay a turbo delivery fee of up to $8.99 or $5.99 if you want to put it onto the Roar Money debit card through MoneyLion. If you want to skip out on these fees though, you can. However, it's going to take about 2 business days to reach the debit card or up to 5 business days to reach your bank account. You'll also be encouraged to leave a tip, but that's optional, so you can always skip it if you don't want to add even more money onto this. Compared to the other apps, we're going to pull up a snazzy little chart here that's going to show you all of the apps together. On average, it's going to take about $16.35 to borrow $100 from these apps. If we're looking at MoneyLion and we include a 15% tip, that cost is going to be $23.99 to borrow $100. That's like $8 more than the average and not very good. If we don't leave a tip, it brings the cost all the way down to $8.99, which is a lot better. It's more on the lower end. If you get rid of the express fee, then you can literally take out a cash advance for free. Overall, if you do some planning beforehand, then MoneyLion can be a great cash advance app. If you're in a pinch and you're looking for money right away without any planning, this may not be the best option because of its express fees, but it's super fast and it has a $250 cash advance limit, which isn't too shabby. So if you are willing to do some planning and you want to skip the tip, this is definitely a viable cash advance app that I recommend you look into. So there's actually a new cash advance app that is brand new. I'm so excited to show you guys today. It is through Chime. So Chime is like the most popular banking app in America, and they just released a cash advance feature called MyPay. This is like a well-known app and a new feature, and that makes me excited. And there's low fees too, so that makes me exciteder. I just invented that word. This is gonna happen. I'm cheesy. We know this based off of the shirt. Okay, so MyPay is awesome because you can get up to $500 into your bank account and there's no hidden fees and no credit check and no interest. So yay. The fees are straightforward. It's only $2 no matter how much you borrow. I think that's like the lowest fees that we've seen. Okay, so Chime as a banking feature is really cool. It has pretty much all of the features of a regular bank, just virtually. And it's also super popular. It has 22 million customers. Most of these features are available for free and there's also no minimum balance, so that is also nice. So you can manage money through the account, send and receive money, save in a high yield savings account, which is cool. And you can also deposit checks virtually by taking a picture of them. You'll also get a Chime Visa card, which you can use practically anywhere at 50,000 in-network ATMs. They're also starting with some cashback offers at popular restaurants and stores. And my favorite feature, which we're talking about today, is the MyPay feature. So that's the cash advance feature where you can get up to $500 with no credit check. You can qualify with earnings from a paycheck. You do have to receive regular direct deposits into your Chime account, and you can do this through an employer or even government benefits like Social Security. So it'll tell you how much you qualify for directly in the Chime app, and most people qualify for lower amounts than that $500, so you're gonna see around $50 to $100 to start. So if you repay these advances on time, you can quickly increase the amount that it lets you borrow. And there are a lot of reports from members that their balance fluctuates frequently, so this can happen on a daily basis. So I recommend you check your account and see if maybe you get qualified for a higher amount the next day if you don't get what you want on day one. And then once you qualify and take out the advance, it's going to go directly into your Chime account. So the $2 fee is for an instant transfer, which is great. It's the lowest express fee out of all of the cash advance apps, which is freaking amazing. And if you want it within 24 hours, you don't even have to pay the $2. It'll just give it to you for free. This is like a no-brainer. This is so cool. I love this feature. That's literally the only fee. There's no tips, there's no interest, there's no late fees, there's no subscription fees, there's no tips. I think I said that already. And once your next direct deposit hits your account, it will automatically pay back your MyPay advance. So there's a couple of drawbacks to this product. It's not currently available in all the states. They haven't rolled it out yet because it is brand new. So you want to check to make sure it's available in your state. We don't know when it's going to roll out to the others yet. So it just may not be available yet to you. So keep that in mind. And then the second thing is that you also have to be a current Chime customer to qualify for the advances. Like I said before, you have to have direct deposits into a Chime account. So if you don't have that set up yet, that whole process is going to take a few weeks to get the deposits going and the account open and everything like that. If you need money within 24 hours and you've never used Chime before, then this probably isn't an option for you because you do have to wait to establish yourself as a customer. For the limit, how I said people were saying that it increases or decreases daily, there's actually some complaints already from some people saying that the limit decreased by a lot. So that's something to look into. Again, this is brand new, so there's not a lot of information yet. What's amazing about Chime though is that the MyPay feature is just one of 3 different features you can use to borrow money from Chime. The other option is to set up direct deposits, and you can actually take that money 2 days early. There's no cost, there's nothing you have to do. Chime will just automatically alert you. And then the second option is FloatMe, which basically allows you up to $200 in no fee overdrafts from your account. So if your balance is negative, you can use the FloatMe feature and you'll be able to make purchases through the ATM or through your card. But like MyPay, you do have to have a history of recurring deposits, and it will let you know how much you qualify for. And you can also swap a thing called Boost with other members on Chime, and that's going to increase the limit. When your next deposit hits, it's automatically going to repay that FloatMe balance, and then you can use FloatMe again if you ever need it. Okay, so these 2 options are very similar, the FloatMe and the MyPay. So let's go over when to use each one. So FloatMe is great when you accidentally overspend, so when your account's in the negative and you need to make up for that, or if you need a little bit of cash really fast. You can use it at any time just by using your crime debit card. Oy. You can use it at Oh, my poor editor. I am so sorry. You can use it at any time just by using your Chime debit card. So MyPay is good if you need a larger amount of cash and you need more time to repay it. You can qualify for up to $500 with that, but you can only access it once per pay period, so just keep that in mind. Overall, I am so excited to see this feature being released. I'm excited for it to be released to all of the states. Have you guys tried it? Is it available in your state? Let us know in the comments. Alright guys, we just discovered a new cash advance app. This one has some of the lowest fees we've ever seen, so I am so excited to talk about it today. First off, up to $500 limits, 0 express fees, 0 tips, and you can use it completely for free if you're willing to wait a few days. So usually when a product this good comes out, the company is going to be all for marketing it and you're going to see promotions about it everywhere. But this one, there's absolutely nothing. There's no ad campaigns, and if we hadn't stumbled upon it in the website, we wouldn't have even found it. And it's not some unknown little startup either. It's from one of the biggest companies in Silicon Valley. So let's talk about it. So what exactly is going on here? They're valued at $7 billion with over 2 million customers, but you've probably never heard of them, and this is why. Personal loans with competitive rates, premium credit cards with solid rewards, and so if you didn't have strong credit, Upgrade was probably not creating a product for you. But this is where Boost Cash comes in. This is their first product that helps people that do not have such great credit. And I'm excited to say it might just be the best cash advance product that exists. Boost Cash is the name of this cash advance product, and you can get anywhere from $25 to $500. So it's going to start you at around $25, and you can increase that amount as you build repayment history. And like all the other apps, there's no credit check and no interest. Okay, so here's how the free works. So standard delivery takes about 3 to 5 business days. It's completely free. Get this, guys. Guess how much the subscription fee is? 0. Guess how much the tips are? 0. And guess how much the fee is per advance? Yeah, you guessed it. It's 0. You can use this app completely for free. We have not seen anything like this out of all the apps we've reviewed. Repayment is due on the next expected payday, and get this, there's no late fees, they do not report to credit bureaus, and there's also no penalties. The only thing that might be a problem with the free option is that you have to wait 3 to 5 business days, which is a lot slower than a lot of people need. So keep that in mind if you need cash right away. You do need a Boost Money account, which is Upgrade's banking product. Now, Upgrade is not a bank in and of itself. It is partnered with partner banks. These are all FDIC insured, such as Sutton Bank and Cross River Bank. Keep in mind, you cannot just link your own account. You do have to have the Boost Money account. So you'll get a full checking account with a debit card, no monthly fees, and no fee ATM withdrawals at select ATM. You can also get your paycheck up to 2 days early. Now, Boost Cash is only available in 41 states, so the states where it is not available, Georgia, Washington, Connecticut, Wisconsin, and a few others. You'll need eligible direct deposits of at least $500 going into your Boost Money account. Keep in mind this all has to come from the same income source, so if you're a gig worker with multiple income streams, then you might be disqualified. So this is an advantage compared to other banking apps like Varo and Chime, which also have lower cost advances. Usually with those apps, you need at least 1 to 3 months of direct deposits before you're eligible for an advance. Boost Cash lets you switch out your future direct deposit via their platform, and that allows you to qualify immediately for that first $25 advance. You have a 30-day window to set this up, so you can be taking out your first advance before your first paycheck even arrives. Now, let's talk about premium and why it might be a good deal to upgrade. Get it, because the company's name is Upgrade. So now we're talking Boost Money Premium. It is $9.99 a month. So this means the money arrives in minutes instead of 3 to 5 days. Now you can do this as many times as you want, which is great compared to other apps such as MoneyLion, which charges you $8.99 per $100 advance for each express fee. Premium subscribers also allegedly climb higher in the rates that you're given for an advance. So they will go from that $25 to $500 a little bit faster than free users. That's what we've heard word of, although how fast, we're not exactly sure. You'll also get VIP customer service with a dedicated phone line. This is one of the biggest complaints for all of our apps that we've reviewed, is that there's no customer support. It either takes too long or there's only an email. So this is amazing for people who want to get personalized support quickly. Now you'll also receive benefits in the Boost Money banking platform, not just the advances. You'll get a 10% APY on savings up to $1,000. This is super high, guys. The interest rate right now for high interest savings accounts is 3.8. So that means for every $1,000, you'll get $100 a year in interest. They're basically paying you a lot of money to start an emergency fund, which is great because we'll have to rely less on cash advances, which is always a good thing. There's also travel and purchase protection. There is trip cancellation protection up to $2,000. So if the flight gets canceled and the airline won't refund you, then this will kick in. There's also purchase security up to $500. So if something gets lost or damaged within 90 days, that's covered. There's also return protection for for up to $250 per item. So if a retailer won't accept returns, an upgrade will kick in and reimburse you. There's also extended warranty protection up to $10,000. So if your laptop or something breaks when it's out of warranty, then upgrade will cover it. So keep in mind that these benefits are usually only found in really high class credit cards, and those usually charge hundreds of dollars in annual fees. So it is great to find a product that does this. The only thing you need to remember is to use your Boost Money card that comes with your Boost Money account. And there's identity theft protection up to $15,000. We've got premium credit card level protections. We've got high interest savings account. We've got free instant transfers. All of that for $9.99 a month. That sounds pretty good to me. So is there a catch? The thing is, this app has not really been out long enough, so we don't have enough data. There's a lack of user reviews and ratings for Boost Cash specifically. It's brand new and it's offered on the down low, so we don't see a lot of information on it. What we can do is look at Upgrade's overall reputation. So they do have a 4.8 star on the App Store, and they have an A+ at the BBB. So they're a reputable brand. We just don't know how the Boost Cash feature is performing at this stage. It also could be a little bit more transparent how it says that paid users will get generally faster increases. We want to know how much and how fast. This feels like an extremely great product. The company itself is reputable. There's so many great and innovative features for Boost Cash and Boost Money in general, especially with the premium subscription. However, without any real world user data at this stage, it is going into uncharted territory. So you can be an early adopter, but a lot of times that comes with surprises. Hello, it is I, your cash advance queen, with new hair and new content coming at you. I have found a lesser known cash advance app called Credit Genie, and today we're going to break down the cost of taking out a cash advance and determine if this is a good cash advance app to use or if there's better options. Genie has a lower cash advance limit than a lot of the other cash advances. It tops out at about 100. Again, you will probably qualify for a smaller amount in the beginning. When you first link your account to Credit Genie, it could set up alerts so that you know if your funds are below a certain threshold, which is kind of helpful. It'll also track your spending habits and offer suggestions on how to better manage your finances. And it also partners with products and services that provide debt relief and can recommend some of those services to you based on your circumstance. So the first thing you want to do to be able to take out a cash advance is to connect your bank account. Credit Genie uses Plaid like most of the other apps where it connects securely to your bank account. Now, with Credit Genie, there are some restrictions on whether or not you can take out a cash advance. The first thing is that your bank account cannot be a joint account, and it has to be open for at least 90 days. It also has to contain $750 worth of monthly deposits within the last 90 days, and it has to see that your account has received 2 monthly direct deposits that are no more than 16 days apart. So this app is definitely looking for consistency. Then it's going to analyze your bank account and let you know if you qualify for an advance, and this can range anywhere from $5 to $100. Now, here is where it gets a little bit weird. So for most cash advances, they're going to start you off with a low number. The more you pay off your cash advances successfully and build trust with the app, the more likely they are to give you a higher cash advance, basically. But with this app, there has been a lot of reviews that are 1 star because what happens is people qualify initially for a high amount, like $80 to $100, and then their next cash advance is super low, like $20. Now we have delivery times, which is also a little bit weird. So the delivery times are actually not guaranteed. They have a standard ACH, which will get the money to your account within 3 business days. They have an express ACH, which is supposed to give you the money by 9 p.m. of that day. However, there's a caveat, because if you take out a cash advance with the express option after 2 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to postpone your money by a day. So it'll get into your account by 9 p.m. the next day Eastern time. That's also for business hours Monday through Friday, so it doesn't say that weekends are included. I think the best option is the instant debit card. If you link your debit card, you can get the money within 30 minutes. Like all the other apps, it will try to schedule the repayment on payday. If you think you need more time, you can definitely push that date farther, but you can't take out another cash advance until you pay it off. Okay, so let's get down to the fee breakdown. So there's usually 3 different fees. There's the subscription fee, there's the express fee, and then there's a tip. So in terms of the subscription fee, This app charges you $4.99 to be able to take out a cash advance. Now, you have to pay this amount before you even take out a cash advance, so you don't get to see if you qualify for anything until after you've paid. There is a 3-day free trial though, so you can take advantage of that and see if you qualify, and then if you don't, you can always cancel before it charges you the $4.99. Just be careful with doing that because you actually have to disconnect your bank account for it to cancel your subscription. They do charge for both the debit card transaction and the express fee option. So this is very unclear. There's not a lot of information on the site. They didn't respond when we requested clarification on the prices. We had to look through the reviews, and according to the reviews, the express fee is $5.99, and then the instant debit card transfer is $11.99. That is very steep. I think that's probably the highest fee that I've ever seen in terms of cash advances. So, I don't know about this one, guys. And then on top of that, it's going to ask you for a tip. Now, this is optional and it's not going to affect the amount that you qualify for, but this is still something that some people do. To give you an idea of how expensive this app is once you add everything up, if we were to do the instant debit transfer of $11.99, the express fee of $4.99, and then we give a 15% tip, that's going to equal $31.98. For comparison, the average overdraft fee at a bank is $34 to $35. So there's really not a lot of difference there to go through all of the trouble of connecting your bank account and getting a cash advance versus just dealing with the overdraft fee. And then for even more context, if we take the average of the 15 most popular cash advances, we get $15.35. So the $31 compared to $15.35, that's not good. Not good. Even without the tip, it's still like rounding up is like $14. So it's still like $1 below average. And then aside from the cost issue, there's also really poor customer support. They will promise they'll answer emails within 3 days, and a lot of the times they take a lot longer than that. And when they do answer, they're very quick to blame the customers for any issues. And then also their site is pretty clunky, not very user-friendly, and keeps freezing. So, not the greatest experience I've had. Like, most of these cash advance apps that I've reviewed have been somewhat decent. This one, no comment. There's also been reports of issues with the bank account staying linked to Credit Genie, and what happens is when there's a glitch with this, people will try to disconnect and reconnect their bank, and this is like flagged as inappropriate behavior, and they will automatically be blocked from reconnecting for 60 days. So that means they have to wait 60 days to take out another cash advance. So overall, I don't even want to do an overall for this app, to be honest. It's one of the most expensive apps, not really worth it in my opinion, and a lot of issues with customer service and the website itself and linking to the bank account. I think that there are better options out there. You can check out my channel. There are lots of better options out there. Wow, out of all the videos, this was the first like negative review. Today we're going to be looking at a specific app called Varo. With Varo, you can take a cash advance of up to $250 at a time, and you can take up to 30 days to pay it back. There's also no credit check and no late fees. So far this is looking like a pretty cool app, but let's take a look and see what it really costs. So far this is looking like the best app out of all 15 that we've reviewed because there's actually no fees to take out a cash advance. But, and we know that there's always a but with this type of thing, Varo does have some requirements that may not be super appealing, especially if you need a cash advance quickly. So we're gonna look over that today, see if it's actually the best app or if the requirements just aren't worth it. Let's get started. So Varo is actually its own bank. It is not just a cash advance app. It is FDIC insured. It's part of a new breed called neobanks, which are banks that run entirely online and offer more cost-effective ways to bank as opposed to traditional banks. Looking at the app, the Varo app has been downloaded more than 1 million times and has received more than 300,000 combined reviews in the App Store and Google Play. They offer a full-service bank account. There's no minimum balance and no monthly fees. It doesn't offer not for overdrafts though, so if your balance is headed towards the red, you won't be able to spend more than you have. Instead of overdrafts, Varo offers an innovative alternative, which is called Varo Advances. Varo operates pretty much the same as all of the other cash advance apps that we've taken a look at. There's no credit check. It links directly to your bank account and then takes a look at your payment history to see how much you're eligible for. You can also choose when you'll repay that amount as long as it's within 30 days after borrowing the money. There are several requirements that some people may not be too happy with, so this is what you need to be able to take out a cash advance with Varo. First of all, you're going to need a bank account with Varo itself. You can only get your cash advance sent to that account. And then another thing that's not really great is that your account has to be open for at least 30 days before you can get a cash advance. You also need to have made $1,000 in direct deposits to this account within the last 31 days. So there's kind of a lot of restrictions on this, especially if you're just someone who needs cash like really fast and does not already have a bank account with Varo. So there's good news and bad news after you've met all of these requirements. The good news is that your first cash advance from Varo is going to be free. The bad news is that your first cash advance is only going to be $20. You can build it up eventually to the $250 based on your account history and your payment history, but to start, that's a pretty low amount.
Depending on how much money you're taking out, Varo's express fee maxes out at $6.99.
The $20 advances are free, the $50 advances are $3, and the $100 advances are $5. Other than that, there's no subscription fee, no late fee, no interest, and no tip. So it's great on the fees. Not so great with a lot of the other stuff we've talked about. If we pull up our chart here of our 14 other apps that we've analyzed, we know that if we want a $100 cash advance, we're going to be paying $16.35 on average to take out that advance. If you take $100 from Varo, you could see that the cost is only $5. This is the lowest cost out of all of the apps that we have tried. And the feature to repay within 30 days is also handy too. Not only that, but Varo also placed first as the most cost-effective app when taking out $50 and $200 as well. Overall, Varo is a great deal if you have a bank account with them and have been using them for a while. If you are just getting started and you need your money fast and don't want to wait that 30-day period or make direct deposits of $1,000 to apply, not to mention when you do finally take out the cash advance, you only get the $20 to start, then you're going to want to look at some other options. Hi everyone, let's talk about the cash advance app Earnin and why it is so different from the other cash advances available. First of all, Earnin is technically not a cash advance. It's essentially earned wage access. Earnin does not look at your bank account history or do a credit check to determine if you're eligible, and instead it's going to look at the amount of hours that you've worked but haven't been paid yet. So instead of waiting 2 weeks for your paycheck, you can use Earnin and get paid that same day. With earned wage access, you can access up to $150 a day or up to $750 per pay period. This is really amazing because most cash advance apps will start you at like $10 to $20 for your first advance. With Earnin, you could take out $150 right off the bat as long as you have enough unpaid earnings. And unlike a lot of the other apps, with Earnin, you can take out multiple advances until you reach the limit of $750 per pay period. Okay, that sounds fantastic, right? But let's see what you need to be eligible to get that earned wage access. First of all, you have to be an employee. You cannot be a gig worker because you have to have a W-2 for the app to be able to track your earnings. So for people who freelance like myself, unfortunately, we cannot use this app, which is such a bummer because it's a great app. You also have to have a regular pay schedule, so that's like once every 2 weeks, which is like what you would see typically in a 9-to-5. You also have to work in a fixed location, such as an office, or have a work email address. Earnin's gonna send you one email to that address just to verify that it's real. You also do need to have a regular checking account, and it has to be from a regular bank. So let's get into the logistics of how the heck does Earnin track your earnings. So the easiest way to do this is to turn on location tracking. It will basically track the amount of time you've spent at your workplace so it can calculate and estimate the amount of hours and the amount of pay that you can access. Also, if you work from home and you don't want to do this, you can also manually upload timesheets. So people who have a physical location that they go to for work are definitely going to have the easiest time using this app. In either case though, your employer will not know that you are using Earnin, which is great because you can keep that private. So if you don't happen to qualify for that $150 daily limit, you can use a popular feature called Max Boosts.
This is where someone's basically vouching for you and it will raise your amount $50 per paycheck. So here's a catch here because somebody has to vouch for you, right? So there's actually groups on Reddit where you can post and ask people to give you a boost. There's also some on Facebook and there's some in the Earnin app as well. Earnin will automatically repay itself on your next payday, and then you can reschedule your payment day once every 60 days. Okay, so now let's get into the fees to use this app. So far, it's sounding pretty good. And you will also be happy to know that there is no subscription, no late fees, and no interest. There's only one lightning speed fee. This is if you want to access your cash quickly. It's $3.99 if you take out less than 100 or $5.99 if you take out 100 or more. And this is not actually that bad in terms of express fees. However, it can get pricey depending on how often you are taking out money. So for example, if you're taking out $50 every day, you're gonna be getting $250, but 20 of those dollars are going towards fees. So that's starting to get a little bit pricey. However, this is optional. You do not have to use the express fee if you're willing to wait up to 2 business days to get your money. So this means you can essentially use Earnin for free, and we like free. So that is also another plus about this app. You can also set up Earnin to track your account, and if you're at risk of an overdraft, you can have Earnin automatically advance you up to $100. But in order to use this feature, you do need to have eligible earnings, and then there's also a fee on top of that, which is $2.99. If you want to save some money, Earnin also offers a deposit account through its partner bank, Evolve Bank and Trust. You can save $1 on fees from transfers $100 or less. You can also opt to get your paycheck 2 days early, but there's a fee of $2.99 to access that. And that is expensive compared to other apps like Dave or Chime, which offer this feature for free. Earnin also asks for tips, but we always say you can skip the tips and it will not affect how much you're eligible to borrow. So if that's still sounding great, it's gonna sound even better when we look at the reviews. Earnin is one of the most popular cash advance apps. It has like over 1 million reviews. It has 19 million downloads, and it's always ranking on the charts of the top finance apps. It collectively has over 500,000 reviews and has managed to maintain a 4.1 star rating on Google Play and 4.7 stars from the Apple Store. There's a lot of positive reviews talking about how easy the app is and how it's no BS, how they're able to take out multiple payments per pay period unlike most other apps, and how you can qualify as soon as you set up the app. There are some negative reviews about the app unexpectedly disconnecting from their bank so they're unable to use it, and there's also a risk of your advance limit being decreased suddenly and sharply without any notice. And then the third complaint was that there was no phone support for customer service, which honestly that is not a complaint for me because I don't like using phones. I would much rather have a chat support. So all of that being said, Earnin does kind of live in a regulatory gray area, and it is currently facing a lawsuit. Not just one, there's actually multiple lawsuits. The Washington DC Attorney General is currently trying to sue Earnin, claiming that it really charges 300% APR, and it's also facing a civil class action lawsuit claiming that it is charging unfair rates. And to top all of that off, Earnin has already settled another class action lawsuit for $3 million that claimed it causes customers to incur overdraft fees, although the app says it tries to help customers avoid that. The industry of cash advances is definitely fast growing, and I think Earnin is growing so fast that it's kind of putting the growth before the compliance. However, overall, I still think that this is a really helpful app for the majority of people, and I would definitely recommend it as one of the apps to check out.
2 years into this channel, and I think we have finally managed to find the worst cash advance app in existence. Now, we have seen some doozies before that have some sketchy practices, but this one takes the cake. The app is called Gerald, and while we can tell you right up front at the start of this video that you will not want this app downloaded on your phone, it is definitely worth a hate watch. Now, at first glance, there's nothing sinister about this app. It says you can get an instant advance, no credit check, interest, late fees. If you can't repay it, you can revoke ACH access and they will not sue you. They also won't send you to collections. You can use it for buy now, pay later shopping, a mobile phone plan where you can use a cash advance to pay your bill, and they claim you can get cash advances with no subscription, no instant transfer fees, and no tips. Now, we've been in this business long enough to know that if an app is boasting that there's no fees at all to take out a cash advance, there's probably a catch somewhere. So here's the thing. It turns out that your cash advance isn't given to you all in cash.
Say what?
So I do want to highlight here that Gerald does a pretty good job of being transparent about the fact that it works differently from most other apps. It has disclosures on the website and the App Store pages, and when you sign up for an advance, it looks okay on paper. But when you look at the specifics, you'll see why we hate this app so much. So when you qualify for the app, instead of being able to draw it down in cash, you have to spend some of that money on Gerald's corner store. So you will receive part of the money as an advance and the other part as merchandise credits to buy stuff from Gerald. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I'm also thinking this, and that is maybe there's some good things in that store. Maybe this is something similar to like cashback offers where you can pay for groceries or gas or travel or something like that. So if you read directly from Gerald, it says, if you're approved for a $100 advance, you'll be required to use a specific portion of that advance on our e-store or on a mobile plan, so you can use it for their phone plan. Once this threshold has been met, you can then transfer the remaining balance of the advance to your bank account with no fees attached. For example, if you're provided with a $100 advance, you may need to allocate at least $50 of this advance towards purchases on Corner Store or towards a mobile phone plan like Cranberry Mobile. So half of the advance is going to buy stuff and the other half is an advance, but when you go back to repay it, you have to repay it the full amount. The items that come from the Corner Store are mostly low quality Temu-esque style objects. Although there is a limited number of groceries and household items, we checked out the pricing and it's definitely higher than what you would normally see. For example, if you're doing the grocery store thing, a 24 pack of Red Bull is $48.97 plus $16.99 for shipping. That's $65.90 and it takes 5 days to be delivered. That same 24 pack of Red Bulls for $38.98 and 2-day free shipping. So that's 3 days faster and $27 less than the Gerald store. So conclusion, who needs to charge fees when you can sell junk at a markup of 50%? So at this point, it already sounds pretty ridiculous, right? You only get half of your cash advance amount. The other half is going to pay for things you don't want at inflated prices, and then things go from bad to worse. It seems as though even as bad as this deal is, Gerald is still struggling on its end to keep up with its side of the bargain. We have never seen so many complaints for a cash advance app through the BBB. The people have not been receiving their half of the cash advance portion, nor have they been receiving the items that they purchased in the Corner Store, and they're still being charged for them. We can take a look at this complaint here. And this complaint here. It wasn't such a terrible app when we reviewed it before a while ago. I have found a hidden gem of cash advance apps. This one is called Gerald. Obviously it has changed, and if you take a look at the more recent reviews, although it says 4.2 stars in the App Store and 4.1 in Google Play, if you look at the recent reviews, they are all 1 stars. So this whole mess happened somewhere between the first time we reviewed them and now. You'll also find some really negative feedback on Reddit as well. Now, although we can give Gerald credit for actually responding to a lot of these complaints, all they do is pretty much pass the buck and blame it on fulfillment and an issue in fulfillment, and customers are still pretty mad because they cannot get a hold of customer service. You can use Cash App to split pizza bills and pay friends back for tacos. But did you know there's another feature? It's called Varo and it can lend you up to $1,000. No subscription fees and instant money. But the catch is that it's 100% invite only. Some users with perfect credit will never get invited, and others barely even use Cash App and wake up to huge limits. So what exactly is this thing? So we've actually found someone who's had it since day one.
I was actually selected to pilot Cash App's Varo feature before they rolled it out. And I just got a random email and it was like, hey, we want you to try out this thing that we're working on. Come and give it a shot. So I went and looked at it. I've never really been approved to get any kind of money or loan or anything like that. So I found this to be kind of interesting.
It was launched in 2020 as an invite-only feature inside a Cash App. Now there's 15 billion loaned to over 9 million users, and everything happens right in Cash App. You just tap Borrow, pick the amount, and the money appears instantly. You can borrow $20 to $500, but most users for their first time will get around $150. There's been word that some users can hit up to $1,000 and some even hit $1,400. The cost is a 5% flat fee, so if you borrow $100, you're going to be paying back $105. There's also no subscription fee and no credit check, which means they do not report
any of this money to credit bureaus. It gives you 4 weeks to pay back, with some users saying that they see 6 weeks. So it actually gives you more time than more standard cash advances, which will take it out of your bi-weekly paycheck. So here's the best part. You can actually use this app with bad credit. Over 70% of Cash App Varo users have a credit score lower than 580. That's considered poor credit. You won't be able to get loans at traditional banks, and credit cards are not going to touch you. Cash App, however, is going to look at your direct deposits. If you deposit straight into Cash App, you need $300 direct deposits. If you deposit into a regular bank account, you're going to need $500 deposit. You also need to be 18 or up and not reside in Colorado or Iowa. But the reality is more mysterious. Sarah didn't make any direct deposits, and she still got invited to the program.
I've never had a credit card, but I've had issues in my past with like a guardian using my name and whatnot on utilities and stuff and then defaulting. So I took the hit for that. So I was pleasantly surprised when I had the option to do it. And
so we can assume Cash App is using some secret algorithm that looks at how the money's flowing through your account and your account health. So this user on Trustpilot says, I hate the fact that some people can borrow and other accounts can't. Income does not matter because I've had regular direct deposits, but know someone who doesn't work and still has it. So the mystery is driving people crazy, but if you actually get invited, it's actually very helpful, especially if you have bad credit. So Cash App advertises $500 limits, but if you pay on time, those limits can explode.
Did it take you from like taking out the first advance when it was like $20 or whatever you said to increase to like the $1,000 limit?
It was like a week from 20 to 25, and then it jumped up to 50 like a week or two later. That was so long ago, and like in the beginning of the whole thing, it's kind of hard to remember exactly. But I do remember it took over a year to get from 350 to 500. Like it was totally random. And people online will say it's because you didn't have direct deposit or you didn't really use your Cash App. And it's like, I didn't need direct deposit to even begin. So I don't know how they go about dictating and deciding, okay, person A can have their increase now, person B needs to sit for another month. So I wonder how they do that on their end.
Sarah's path took 4 years to hit that $1,000, but you can definitely achieve that in a shorter period of time. You'll need to have perfect on-time payments, regular deposits, and then also heavy app usage. Other users report $1,400 and up limits. So this person on Trustpilot says, I've now reached 1,125 on my borrowing limit. I'm actually wondering what the maximum is. So the increases are automatic but unpredictable. These can occur sometimes weekly and sometimes monthly. We don't know. Cash App also gives you 3 flexible ways to pay. They all cost the same as long as you pay on time. The first option is to pay as you receive cash. So as soon as you get the money, it's going to pay a little bit back towards that. That's the most flexible option. But then there's option number 2 that pays over the course of 4 weeks, and this is weekly payments. This is a lot different from most cash advances because most of them take the money right out of your bi-weekly paycheck, so it goes every 2 weeks. This is 4 weeks, so it gives you a little bit more time. And then option 3 is the lump sum payment. This is pretty standard for most advance apps. It's just gonna pay back the whole thing on your due date. So all 3 cost the same. It's 5% as long as you're paying on time. However, the downside is that it's going to pull from your Cash App first, and if there's no money in there, it's gonna pull from your debit card. So this can be good because you'll never miss a payment, but the bad news is it can easily overdraft your account if you're not expecting that money to come out. And get this, if you are late on repayment, it's a $5 fee after the first 4 days, and then it switches to 1.25% in interest after day 7. So this means if you borrow $200 and it takes you 2 weeks to pay it back, you're gonna be paying about $215. So these fees can add up a lot the longer you wait to repay it, but the good news is they don't report any of this to credit bureaus. Now here's another feature that's helpful. You can take multiple loans out at one time and they all have separate due dates. So most apps like Brigit and Dave will allow you to take out one advance and then pay it back before they will let you take out another one. So with Cash App, you'll have your limit. So let's say it's $600. Say you have an emergency and you have to borrow $200. So you'll borrow $200 of that $600 and that's gonna be due in 4 weeks. But then the next day you need to borrow another $100 for groceries. So you do that, and that money is going to be due in those next 4 weeks since you took out that $100. And then let's say the third day you have car issues and you end up paying another $250. So it's going to be the same process. You're using $550 out of that $600 limit, and then each of those 3 loans has its own separate due date. So there's a lot of good feedback and a lot of bad feedback for this app. On Trustpilot, somebody says, I'm rebuilding credit and Cash App treated me according to my income stability and not my payment history. So a lot of people are saying they're really glad that they can get approved without having to have a certain credit amount. Everything is native to the app, and they give increases if you pay back the amounts, and you can take out multiple loans. However, the downside is the point about overdrafting, how the money automatically is withdrawn from your account. This makes it stuck to get into the borrowing cycle. And it's also a mystery on how to get invited. So a lot of people are frustrated because nobody can crack the code on how to actually get in. So I would say use this app if you already use Cash App and if you have bad credit and can't get a loan anywhere else. Just be sure you can handle the automatic deductions though. All right, hello everyone. As we all know, I love finding you guys different cash advance apps to use in a pinch. Today, I have found a new one. It's actually on a website and it's called super.com. And today we're gonna be reviewing it and seeing if super is actually a super choice or if there's some sketchiness going on. So this website is called super.com and it was actually formerly known as Snap Travel. First, it was offering travel discounts, but it's kind of morphed into one big super app. These are popular in Asia. You can basically do everything in one place. You can use this app for cash advances, for SuperPay, which is like a credit card attached to its own bank account, getting discounts and cash back on travel, and discounted prices on gas, phone plans, and insurance policies. Kind of an odd mix of everything, but you know, if it works, it works. This app has raised $85 million just this year. So having 2 names for this app, Snap Travel and super.com, can kind of like make things a little bit muddled. However, we find this data to be slightly suspect because on the Play Store, we can only find 500,000 downloads compared to the 5 million that they claim to have. It also ranks number 183 in finance on the App Store, which is not super impressive. And in the Play Store, it is under the travel category. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and break down the cost of using the cash advance, and then we're gonna go into people's opinions and reviews that we found about this app. So first of all, if you wanna take out a cash advance with super.com, you have to be a member, and that is a flat rate of $15 a month for the subscription fee. That is a flat rate of $15 a month for a subscription, and that's going to allow you to take out the cash advance. Already, it's starting to get a little bit pricey. The advances themselves take up to 3 days to process, and there is an express fee like most apps, and this ranges from $3.99 to $6.99 depending on how much you are able to take out for the cash advance. I should also mention that the limit for the cash advance is $200, and you can get that with no interest, no fees, and no credit check like most cash advances that I've reviewed here. And you also probably won't qualify for the full $200 at first because that seems to be the trend among most apps. You'll start being able to borrow a smaller amount first, and then gradually as you build history with this app, you'll be able to reach the maximum $200. So on top of the subscription fee and the express fee, we also have a tip, which is usually 15%. This is not mandatory, but we just like to include it. So overall, our calculations, if we were to take out a $100 cash advance with super.com and we wanted our money instantly, so we're paying the express fee, and then we're also leaving a $15 tip, that's going to be $34.99 just to take out a cash advance, which compared to the average of most of our cash advances that we've looked at, those results are not great. Don't take out a cash advance with this app. Just don't. The average price of cash advances has gone up in the past 6 months, and right now it's at about $19.08, which is still way lower than the $34.99 that you would pay to use super.com. Luckily, I would assume most people are using this app to get like the full range of features, but if someone is using this solely for cash advance, please don't. Okay, so now that we have the cost breakdown of this app, let's go ahead and look at people's reviews. So surprisingly, a lot of people are actually fairly happy with this app, but the problem is most of these reviews are talking about the travel aspect of the app and not necessarily the cash advances. It appears as though a lot of people are getting screwed over by the app and they will overbook, and then when the person shows up for their reservation, it will magically disappear with no room available and no record of the transaction. So that is fun. And then there's a ton of people questioning its validity. They're saying, is super.com legit? There's also really bad customer service. It's looking like a lot of people aren't getting their issues resolved. One tiny green flag amongst the pile of red ones is that the company does seem to be pretty responsive to complaints. So at least that's something, right? Since I was on the app, I kind of took a look at some of the cashback offers, and and some of them didn't seem that bad. The problem is they were one-time use only or only available for 14 days after you subscribe, though it isn't the greatest long-term. There's a 30 cents off a gallon for gas offer, but it's a headline offer, so that's going to expire after one use. There was also 8% off of CVS, which is probably a deal that's kind of hard to find in other places, so that might be something worth looking into. However, if we're just looking at this app in terms of cash advances, it's horrible. Don't do it. There are much better options, which you can see us review in some of our other videos. If you have I can't talk. Why? If you guys are looking for some extra cash and thinking about taking out a cash advance, then this is the video for you. We took 15 of the most popular cash advance apps and compared them all so you know if you're getting a good deal or not. Today, we're going to be talking about the app called Vola. The Vola app offers cash advances up to $300. There's no credit check, no interest, and no late fees. There's just one simple fee. But compared to all of the other apps that we've tried, is it actually as good as it seems? I actually don't know. I've got to pull up my chart. That's what we're going to be talking about today, so let's break it down.
Not as well known as the biggest apps like Dave, Earnin, or MoneyLion, Vola Finance is a popular cash advance app and makes it easy and more affordable to rapidly borrow a little extra cash when you need it. It's been downloaded several 100,000 times and has received more than 15,000 reviews in the App Store and Google Play.
As with all of the other cash advance apps, Vola is not going to require a credit check. It's going to connect directly to your bank account and then take a look at your gig work and payment history to see how much you're eligible for. It'll let you know what you qualify for within a minute or two, and it can be up to $300. However, when you're first using it, you may have to build up a bit of a reputation before it's going to offer you the amount of $300, so the first cash advance might be capped a little bit lower. Vola will also schedule an automatic repayment of the cash advance once it sees that you have sufficient funds in your account. If you want to be more in control about the date that it pays back, you can also fix that within the app, and there's no late penalty for pushing that date forward. However, you just can't take out another cash advance until the first one's paid off. So first of all, Vola is a free app. You can use the app without taking out a cash advance, but if you're going to take out money, then you definitely need to subscribe. There's a few different subscription levels. We're going to focus on the one that's $11.99 a month, and with that one, you can take out a $100 cash advance. There's no interest and no express fees, and Vola doesn't ask for tips either, which a lot of the other cash advance apps do, so that's a little bit handy. It makes the pricing a lot more simple. So how does this compare with the other 14 apps? So this is our cost comparison chart. We took all 15 apps and we averaged them. So in order to take out a cash advance of $100, you're going to be paying about $16.35. If we look at the cost of the subscription with Vola, which is $11.99, that is $4 below average, so that is pretty good. Also, if you use Vola several times throughout the month, then your effective cost is even lower. Pretty solid choice. Compared to the other apps, it is below the average cost of taking out a cash advance. The only downside is that you may have to wait a few hours to get the money. It's not instant like some of the other apps. So if that's a problem, then you may want to look at other alternatives. But overall, it's pretty good and I would check it out. Today, we're going to be looking at the cash advance app B9 specifically. So B9 at first glance is a great solution for a cash advance. You can get it quickly, you can get a cash advance for up to $500, and it does not require a credit check. But upon further research, is it as good as it looks? Are there hidden fees? That's what we're going to take a look at today. All right, so if we take a look at B9 in the App Store, we can see that it's been downloaded over 100,000 times and it's received more than 5,000 reviews combined in the App Store and Google Play. Compared to other apps like Dave and Albert, it has not been downloaded nearly as many times. You'll also get up to 5% cash back when you use the B9 Visa debit card to pay for things like gas or restaurants. One unique feature about this app is that you do get 5% cash back if you use the B9 Visa debit card to pay for things like gas or restaurant. B9, like most other cash advance apps, is not going to require a credit check, so you can literally see how much you qualify for within seconds. What it does is it links to your bank account and then it takes all of your payment history from that and determines your financial health and then gives you your approved amount based on that. You may initially be approved for a smaller amount, but as you use the app over a month or two, you can increase the amount up to $500 per pay period. It'll also set up an automatic repayment payment of your cash advance for your next payday. If you need more time, you can always push that forward and it won't charge you late fees, but just know that you can't borrow any more money until that has been paid off. So B9 is set up a little bit differently than some of the other cash advance apps that we've seen. For B9, you actually need to subscribe in order to take out a cash advance. For the basic plan, it's $9.99 and you can get a cash advance up to $100. And then the premium plan is $19.99 and you can get a cash advance up to $500. As long as you keep paying them off, you can keep taking out cash advances, which is kind of cool. So other than just that flat subscription rate of either $9.99 or $19.99, there's no tips, there's no interest, and there's no express fees. So that's really cool and really convenient. Okay, so how does this compare to the other cash advance apps? Let's take a look. So we took 15 cash advance apps and we looked at how much it would cost for each one to take out $100. We averaged that and the average amount is $16.35. If we're comparing that to the basic plan of B9 at $9.99 to take out a $100 cash advance app, that's pretty awesome. It is the second lowest cost out of all of the apps to borrow $100. And what you can do if you don't want to pay the $19.99 is just pay the $9.99 and pay off the $100 cash advance and keep taking out $100 cash advances instead of paying $19.99 and taking it all in one lump sum of $500. So overall, B9 is pretty cool and pretty cost effective. The flat subscription rate is really great because you don't have to worry about tipping, you don't have to worry about express charges, you don't have to worry about interest or anything like that. And so overall, this is one of the most cost effective and convenient simple apps. This whole thing is just a hot mess express at this point. They totally ghosted. Hello, and welcome to another episode of How Much Money Can I Get from a Cash Advance? Today we're going to be trying to get a cash advance from the app Beem. It was Beem is formerly every time, every video. Beem is formerly known as Line, so they rebranded and named it Beem now, and we're gonna be taking a cash advance out. Okay, so there's gonna be two things that I'm looking at. The first one is how much money I actually qualify for, and then the second one is how long it takes for me to actually get the money into my bank account after signing up. Okay, so first a little bit about the app Beem. They offer cash advances from $20 to $1,000, which is a lot higher than a lot of other cash advance apps. They also say there's no income restrictions, no tips, no due dates, no interest or credit checks, and their cash advance product is called Everdraft. Looks like we press the button Get Cash Now, and that's going to start the cash advance process. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the first thing it's going to ask me for is my phone number, so I'm going to put that in, and then it's going to send me a verification code, and I'm just going to type that in. Okay, so now it's saying that if it drops off and I allow notifications, it'll take me back to where I left off, so I'm going to go ahead and allow that. And then it's just going to ask for the general information like my first and my last name, and then my address, and then my email address, and then it's going to go ahead and ask me to verify my email after it just asked me to verify my phone number. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go ahead and type in the verification code, and it looks like we're all set to start linking our account. I think this is actually the fastest app between all of the ones that I've used so far for this startup part, so let's hope it continues this way. Plaid links the account safely and securely. It does not take your password. This is super weird because it's asking me for permission to my address book, to my media library, and to my photo album, and I'm not sure why a banking app would want that information from me. I'm gonna go ahead and opt out of this, but I just find it very strange and kind of intrusive that they're asking me for that information. So the free plan gives you some tax filing services, some tools to monitor your money, and then also Beem Wallet, which kind of looks like an app like Venmo. So like basically a money transfer tool, but then there's also a lot of features that say coming soon. So we actually aren't looking at that one because that one does not include a cash advance. So we're gonna look at the next option, which is $2.47. And that does include cash advances. It also comes with credit score monitoring and identity theft insurance up to $1 million. Now this option allows you to take cash advances up to $100, and what I really didn't like about this was that there was like literally no information on the app that tells you the cash advance information. I had to actually go to the website and see what this plan gave you in terms of like cash advance amounts. It looks like the only difference between the $2.47 plan and the $9.99 plan is that the cash advance is up to a $1,000 limit, but that's only if you qualify. And again, it was super vague. I had to go on the website to even find that information about the cash advance limits for each plan. So far right now, I'm not really liking the lack of information. I don't know if I would be qualified for a lower amount like 100 or a higher amount for 1,000, because why would I pay the $9.99 if I'm only gonna get qualified for like $50 and I could just go with the $247 plan. So it's a little bit confusing. Again, I'm gonna have to pick a plan first and then take a gamble and see what I get. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the $2.47, and then it's gonna ask me to add my debit card information. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then it'll give me a terms and conditions page. And this is where it gets weird again. It's very unclear, but looking at this, it looks like it's gonna charge you a $5 late fee if you miss the billing period, which is really strange because all of the other apps don't do that. They usually offer like free or no late fees. I'm also a little bit confused by the section that says emergency cash. Not quite sure what the difference is on that. And then also, I've never seen a terms and conditions thing say you can skip if you like. This is just a little bit strange. That being said, if you guys want to see a more thorough video on all of the fees and things like that from Line, which is now Beem, and then compare that to all of the other cash advance apps to see if it's actually a good deal, highly recommend you check out that video. Again, it's called Line back then, it's Beem now, but my video is for Line. So anyway, it gave me my account now and I have to pick a username, and then it's gonna open up an app that looks like Cash App or Venmo, that kind of like money transferring app. So then I have to find where the cash advances are. I'm gonna click on Everdraft because that is how I get a cash advance. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what this auto return thing is because it says it's gonna take the money like automatically out of your account. That concerns me a lot because I don't get to choose when the money comes out. It's just gonna automatically go to repay this cash advance app. That makes me feel a little sketched out because I don't have a lot of control over it. So then I noticed that they give me this weird cheat sheet thing, and then at the bottom it says this is to help you get approved for a cash advance, good luck. And I'm like, holy smokes, I didn't even get approved for a cash advance. It's like 0. So that has never happened before. This whole thing is just a hot mess express at this point. So the income gap thing is blank and essentially useless, and then it has the inflow of money as being 0, which is not accurate. So I don't know if it's because I'm a freelancer that it's not counting my income because it's not consistent, or what's going on there. My account history even looks okay, so I do not know why I wasn't approved for anything. Nothing at all, not even $5. And okay, here's the thing. I already paid the $2.47 for this and I didn't get approved for anything. So I basically just threw money away. I went onto the website and asked for a refund because I'm not gonna pay money for a cash advance app that didn't give me a cash advance. So the first response I got was like an automated response about how I can use all the other features, and I was like, no, I don't want that because the only thing I was using the app for was a cash advance, and so I asked for a refund. And then they totally ghosted. They didn't answer within 10 to 15 minutes, and I was getting like more and more upset and anxious that it was like gonna take my money. And eventually it looked like they responded because I came back later and they had said that they were gonna issue a refund. And then I went into the account and just canceled it myself so they couldn't bill me a second time. Overall, I'm pretty disappointed with Beem as a cash advance app. It didn't approve me for a cash advance at all. Didn't tell me why. Customer service was slow to respond. Just everything was really vague. It took 7 minutes for me to sign up to the point where I would hypothetically get money, but I was declined, so that doesn't really matter to me how fast it took if I didn't get the money. All right, guys, we finally found a new cash advance app. It is called the Money app, and it's currently number 47 in the App Store, which means it's already outranking a lot of other popular cash advances that we have on this channel, including Cleo and Varo. So I am super excited to review this today. So Money app is a cash advance app that will give you up to $250 as an advance. Let's go through the advance limits, the eligibility, the fees, and then what other people have to say about this app. So as for the cash advance limit, Money app will let you take up to $250 as a cash advance. However, as with most apps, you're probably going to get a lower amount to start with. So the good thing about this app is that actually the average is $100, which is a lot higher than some of the other apps we've reviewed. The other apps will give you like around $25 to start with if it's your first time taking out an advance. So this is currently a good sign already. Okay, so in terms of eligibility, as with all other cash advance apps, there is no credit check, so that's great. And then registration is going to take about 5 minutes, so it's a pretty short process and pretty much in line with the other apps that we've reviewed. So you'll connect your bank account with the Money app using Plaid, which is a software that just connects the two securely. So there's 2 points here that will kind of throw you off a little bit. The first point is that it doesn't work with all banks. You need to make sure that your bank qualifies and is able to connect to this app. And then the second thing is that you will need a direct deposit. So that means gig workers like myself might have trouble using this app. So another thing that's a bit of a bummer is that it is not available in about 15 states. And last but not least, like all other cash advances, you will start with a lower amount than that $250. So we're looking at probably about $25 to $100. Now, like I said, the average says it's about $100, so that's higher than the other app, but there's still a chance you could get a very low amount like 25. So just keep that in mind. As you build up a track record with the app, it'll eventually increase your rate. So this is in line with all the other apps as well. Let's get into the fees. In terms of fees, you'll be happy to know that there is no late fee, there is no interest, there's no tips, and there's no subscription fee. So already it's looking pretty good. There is an express fee. So the express fee starts at $4.99, and the $4.99 is for advances $50 and under. It goes up to $9.99 for cash advances of $100, and then the maximum amount is $12.99, and that is for the maximum cash advance of the $250. So the good thing about this is that it is just one flat fee, and you also get to know what the fees are up front because they have them listed on their website, which not a lot of apps have that directly on the website, so kudos to the Money app for doing that. In terms of the cost, that's pretty reasonable. It's pretty average compared to all of the other apps that we've reviewed. There's not anything that's like disturbing or really high in cost there that stands out to me. And you can also use this app completely for free if you're okay with waiting 3 business days to get the money. So that sounds like a very good deal if you can plan ahead. So let's get into the ratings and reviews. So in the Google Play Store, it has an average of 4.1 stars, and in the App Store, it has an average of 4.6 stars. So this is actually pretty good. When I scroll through, I don't see any consistent 1-star reviews like with other apps, Beem. But I swear, I feel like I just hate on Beem all the time in all of my videos. But anyways, so some of the positive reviews that I've seen is that the cash comes in super fast into the bank account once you qualify. And also people appreciate that there's only one upfront fee and there's no like subscription fee or anything like that. There's also some negative reviews that are complaining about not being qualified, which is kind of like to be expected with all of these apps. So nothing is really sketchy there. Some users have had their borrowing privileges revoked without explanation, and then other people have had a hard time contacting customer service. Apparently it's only available through chat, and sometimes they have a hard time responding. So those are kind of the negatives that you should look out for if you're wanting to try the app. I think overall my favorite thing about this app is that it's just straightforward. There's just one flat fee, and that's just for the express fee. If you don't want to use the express fee, you can use it for free. So that's added to our free apps list, which is great. Just keep in mind that if you're looking for full banking apps with other features, you won't find that here. The Money app just focuses on cash advances only. They don't offer any other features. So if you're just looking for a simple solution, then this is still a great option. There's a lot of apps that kind of copy the name. So you want to look for Money app and make sure you're downloading the right one, and just make sure to double check that before you take out a cash advance. We don't really have any hardcore negative things to say about it, and I think it's going to become one of the more popular apps. Hi guys, all right, let's talk about ATM Instant Cash. This is a cash advance app that we have just discovered. We're gonna talk about the eligibility requirements, the amount you can earn, the hidden fees, the fees if there are any, and any reviews from other users that stood out to us. ATM Instant Cash is kind of like the other app that we've reviewed called Super, in which you can actually do surveys or play games and earn a little bit of extra money along with taking out a cash advance. And it's also very similar to the cash advance app called FloatMe, because you can take out a maximum cash cash advance of $50. So this is an app if you need lower amounts of money, because anything over 50, you are not gonna wanna use this app. Okay, so as always, when you're first starting out with the apps, they're going to offer you a lower amount. It's looking like it's going to be around $25 for the first time you use ATM Instant Cash. So the eligibility requirements are a little bit rigid, especially because you're only getting up to $50. So let's talk about it. In order to qualify, you're going to need 3 direct deposits totaling $1,000, a bank account that is at least 60 days old with a positive balance. There also has to be a debit card linked to that account, and you also cannot have a joint bank account. This is kind of a lot for such a low amount, so already I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's worth it, guys. Let's keep going. So you'll connect your account using Plaid, which is a secure software, and it's basically the go-between between your bank and the app. And after connecting, you will be able to see how much you qualify for. In terms of fees to use ATM Instant Cash, there is one flat monthly fee of $3.99 to be able to take out a cash advance. And there's also an express fee for $5 if you want to get the money quickly. I don't really think there's anything negative that stands out about the pricing, because $3.99 is not that bad, and it's in line with the other cash advances. I would say it's even lower than a lot of them. So there's that. There's also no interest and no late fees, and you don't have to give tips. And there's a personal finance feature if you want to sign up for it for $7.99 a month. It allows you to link multiple accounts and also track your spending better. I don't think it's worth it personally. I really like Cleo's budgeting, and Cleo has a free option where you can do that, and it'll help you track your spending. So I recommend if you're wanting something like that, you try Cleo, but it is an option through this app as well if you just want everything in one place. So in terms of reviews, it averages 4.6 stars in both the App Store and Google Play. There's also over 1 million downloads, so this is an app that I guess has been around a while and we just haven't heard of it until now. So there's a lot of positive reviews that are happy about the options to earn some extra money, and they're saying it's also pretty fast and easy to cash out. We do have quite a few negative complaints though. So the earning opportunities are for very small amounts. You can take surveys or watch ads or play games or whatever, and a lot of these are under 10 cents, so it may not be worth your time to even try to do those. You also can't withdraw any of your earnings until you've reached $20. And on top of that, there's also complaints that the customer service is super unresponsive. If you go to the website, it'll even give you a heads up and say that responses can take a long time. And then the last thing we're seeing is that there's a ton of glitches in the app. Now, this has been our experience too when we tried it out. There were a few errors signing in that were frustrating. It was fixable, but it was like still annoying, and that seems to be in line with the other users' experiences. If you're looking for an app like Super, like I mentioned earlier, where you do have opportunities to make a little bit of extra cash, then this is a good option because the subscription fees are definitely lower with this app than they are with Super. However, they also have lower paying opportunities, so it kind of balances out at the end of the day. And I also think if you're a fan of FloatMe, you may want to try out this app too. If you're needing a smaller amount of money, then this is an app that you can check out. We didn't notice anything particularly sketchy or out of the ordinary or pricing being too high, so this is definitely one of the options that you guys can check out. We're going to be taking out a cash advance. As you know, I am the cash advance queen. I've done a lot of research and talking about these apps in my previous videos, but this time I'm actually going to be taking out a cash advance myself and judging the process. The last cash advance app I tried was called Dave, and it allowed me to take out $25 instantly, and it only took 6 minutes to go through the process. So now I'm going to be moving on to the next app called Cleo, and we're gonna be taking out a cash advance from them and seeing if it is higher amount, lower amount, and if it can beat Dave in terms of how fast it takes me to take out this advance. I feel like it's like a little cash advance race. Cleo offers cash advances up to $250 with no interest and no credit check, but it is clear that new users will generally qualify for $20 to $70 for their first advance. So if I end up qualifying for something a little bit lower, then I have been warned. So I'm actually pretty curious to see what I'm gonna qualify for, and let's get into this process. Okay, so the first thing, really cute little text bubbles popping up here automatically makes me want to use the app. So we're gonna go ahead and start the process. It's gonna ask me for my first and my last name, so I'm gonna fill that out first. Then it's gonna ask for my email address. I'm gonna go ahead and fill that out, and then my date of birth as well. All right, it looks like it's asking me where I've heard about Cleo. So I'm just gonna say influencer creator because that's what I am. So we'll do that. And then it says eyeball your inbox. So it's gonna send a verification email apparently. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my verification code into this app and then let it make sure that it is me. Now it's gonna ask me if I want notifications to go over these specific things like jokes and tips and stuff like that. You know what? Why not? I'm gonna go ahead and allow it. And then it's gonna ask me to connect my bank account, which I'm going to do that. Again, I'm not gonna show you my bank account information. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip this part. I will tell you that it uses Plaid to connect your account, and Plaid is safe and secure, and it does not get your password or any of your data, and it can make transactions. You do have to enable it to make transactions so you can take out your cash advance, but in the permissions you can always turn that option off in between your cash advances or just in general if you don't feel comfortable with it anymore. Am I ready to unleash Cleo? I think I am. I'm loving how it's in this cute little text format with GIFs, GIFs. People are gonna come at me if I say this wrong. The funny little moving pictures, there we go. We're gonna go ahead and select the option to take out a cash advance and see what it does. I also really like how it's laying the steps out for me. Like it's saying there's 4 steps to the process and then just like laying them out. So the first thing we're gonna do is see if we qualify. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I can see my account there. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that, and then I'm gonna say most of my income goes to that account. And now it is checking to see how much I'm gonna qualify for. So this is the exciting part. Do you guys think I'm gonna get over $25? Ooh, so apparently it's looking good. I've been approved for an advance, so that's the first step. Now let's see how much it's for. Oh, okay, so it's not gonna give me the specific amount that I qualify for, but it told me that I qualified. So now I have to pay the subscription fee if I want to see how much money I actually made. So the subscription fee is $5.99. I'm gonna go ahead and pay that, and hopefully we'll at least make that back with the cash advance. I'm gonna go ahead and agree to the terms and the privacy and then click subscribe, and we are in. Okay, so it's telling me when my next billing day is, and it's actually giving me an option to change it, which I really like, where it won't count as like a late payment. So that's really cool that I can change it up front and match it to my payday if it's not matching up with the date that they already gave me. I'm gonna go ahead and go into this and change it to the 30th. I'm a freelancer, so my income is pretty inconsistent, so I just like to do it at the end of the month when I actually know how much I've made for that month. This is where it's just asking me if my data is correct, and then it's gonna ask me for my social security number, which of course I don't give out, so we're gonna like put something creative in that spot so you can't see it. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put in my address information, and then after that it's gonna ask me for my cell phone number, and it's gonna send a verification code to that phone number, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill that out. I'm just gonna like fast forward through all of this because it's pretty simple and it's just a little bit monotonous. All right, so now it is checking our eligibility. Why is it that every single video there is a word that I cannot pronounce, and I'm always like going back and forth between 2 different pronunciations? Anyways, we've been approved. Ooh, okay, so it's giving us a range now. 20, that's the minimum amount. 25, okay, so it's giving me up to 30 to choose from. So I guess $30 is the maximum that we're approved for. That is not bad. It's not the minimum amount. It's definitely not 70, but it is more than the other cash advance we went over last time. So there's a $5 improvement, yay. That's also pretty normal for cash advances in the beginning too, to only give you a little bit, and then once you start building history using the app, they'll eventually give you more money. So I'm not surprised, and I'm actually quite happy that it was not just the minimum amount, so yay, everything looks good there. There's also 2 simple options for how to get the money. I can either get it now for $3.99, or I can get it within 2 to 3 business days for free. I really like the fact that I can get it instantly, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose the $3.99 option just to see like how fast I can get the money. It looks like it goes directly into into my account, and it's also not asking me for any tips, which is awesome. If you guys want more of a breakdown of the fees from the Cleo app, definitely check out my video where I talk about Cleo specifically and all of its fees and how it compares to all of the other cash advance apps, so you know if this is a good fit for you. We're gonna go ahead and take our money. Okay, so I like how it's super flexible with the repayment date. So far it is about 2 weeks out from the time it paid me. It also gives me the option to pay in 3 installments if there's not enough money in my account, which I really appreciate. I could tell this app is really trying hard not to let people fail. There's no late fees either, so if I need to change the date of the billing, it's not going to charge me any extra money. I just can't take out another cash advance until I pay everything off. The awesome thing, when I check my bank account, the $30 is already there. That was super fast. So far this app wins. We've only done 2 so far, but out of the 2, Cleo wins for the amount that I was able to take out by $5. The past one was $25, this one was $30. The time it took for me to sign up until the money was in my bank account was 8 minutes. So that's really not bad. Like, this is, in the grand scheme of things, this is a really fast time to get money. It's under 10 minutes. But compared to Dave, it's a little bit slower because Dave came in at 6 minutes. This one comes in at 8 minutes. So it's second place there, but still like super fast overall. This was a pretty smooth process. I love its sense of humor and I love the little text formats. It's very user-friendly. I qualified for more than the minimum amount for my first cash advance, and it's super flexible with the billing dates and everything like that. If you're having a hard time finding a cash advance app that will actually give you money, check out this interesting app called Bright Money. It's an app that can get you an advance for up to $300, and here's what makes it so unique. Instead of giving you the cash advance itself, Bright Money works in collaboration with a lot of third-party cash advances to show you what you're eligible for and give you the best deals. Some of its partners include MoneyLion, Cleo, Tilt, and Earnin, among a lot of the other popular apps. It will give you offers from these apps, and you'll be able to compare the rates, the terms, and the fees to determine which one is the best choice for you to take out in advance. Bright also offers personal loans up to $10,000. You do have to have a fairly good credit score, 600 plus, to be able to qualify for that, but both options can be super helpful if you want to compare your offers. So in order to be eligible to use Bright Money, you do need to link your bank account. It's going to look at your transaction history to determine your income stability, your expenses, and your account balance trends. If it sees frequent overdrafts or erratic cash flow, you might not qualify, so just keep that in mind. It's also going to take a look at your direct deposits and consistent income. If you have consistent income, it's more likely to give you a higher amount. It doesn't require a credit score, so you should be good there even if you have bad credit. And then you will also need to sign up with a subscription through Bright Money. So the subscription is $14 a month, $39 for 3 months, $68 for 6 months, and $97 for the year. Sorry guys, my battery died. Anyways, $97 a year, which is about $8.08 a month. In terms of reviews, Bright Money has 4.8 in the App Store and then 4.7 in Google Play. There's a lot of positive comments saying that it's generally user-friendly and intuitive, but some users were confused about the withdrawal times for their advances. Now this might be because it depends on which app it's coming from, which one you choose through Bright, but I don't know for sure. So on top of the feature of comparing cash advances and picking the best one for you through their third-party partners, Bright has several different money features. It has an automated debt payoff, so basically it'll take small amounts out of your account to repay credit card bills. There's also a credit builder where you can put down $50 or more to create positive payment history. Keep in mind this does require the monthly fee though, so there's other options for free that are better. There's automated savings where it takes your purchases and then rounds up and adds that extra money into a savings account. With all of these options, there's a lot of complaints about not being in control of when this app is withdrawing money, so that is something to look out for. And there's also rent reporting, so it will report your rent payments to the credit bureaus and help you build credit that way. So overall, Bright has a lot of interesting features, and if you are someone who likes to see everything laid out and don't want to go through the trouble of looking up different individual cash advances, this is an awesome option to try at least once to see what your options are in terms of taking out a cash advance. However, Bright works as a go-between, so you don't necessarily need it to be able to take out a cash advance with its partners like MoneyLion, Earnin, or Brigit. You can go directly to those apps. It's just more time consuming if you're doing your own research and applying to each one individually, whereas Bright, you apply one and it'll show you the offers from each app. So if you need money really fast and you're having trouble finding an app that will give it to you, then I would definitely try Bright. It will streamline the process and make it a lot easier. Albert is one of the most popular instant overdraft apps. It was created in 2015 and has over 5 million reviews in the App Store and Google Play. It offers instant overdrafts of up to $250 with no late fees, no credit check, and no interest.
And besides that, it also offers other tools for budgeting and banking as well. One of the things that I really liked about the Albert app is that it also comes with a feature called Albert Genius. When you set up an account, you get a free 30-day trial for this, so it is really worth your time to check it out. You basically get to talk to real people about things like budgeting and finances and credit scores. So I tried this feature out for myself and I go over it in another video on my channel if you want to take a look. But it comes in handy if you have some questions and you really want to talk to a real person. Okay, so if we're looking to get an instant overdraft, Albert does not do this by checking your credit score, which is super helpful. You can get qualified in minutes. It's going to link securely to your bank account using Plaid. And then it's going to look at your account health, your government benefits, your recurring income, things like that, and determine how much you qualify for. If you qualify for a smaller amount at first, if you continue to pay your instant overdrafts on time, you'll be able to raise that limit up to the $250 maximum. It'll also set up an automatic repayment each payday. If you need a little bit more time to pay it back, you can definitely push the date forward if you want, and it won't charge you late fees for doing that as well, so that's always an option. Okay, so let's get to what we were waiting for, the fee breakdown. So the first thing, the subscription.
The subscription fee to access features like the instant overdrafts and Albert Genius is $14.99 a month. But luckily for you guys, Albert offers a 30-day free trial, so you can technically take out an instant overdraft and try out Genius without paying anything for the first 30 days. That's pretty swanky.
I don't know why I chose that word, but we're gonna go with swanky today. So the second thing is the express fee. So the express fee is $4.99. So that's going to enable you to get the money into your bank account almost instantly. Like I said earlier, it takes about like 30 minutes. If you choose not to use the express option, then you don't have an express fee, but you won't get the money as fast. So just be prepared for that it can take a few business days to get that money into your account. So with Albert, they removed the tip feature, which is great for us, right? Because then we don't feel guilty about not tipping and we don't even have to worry about that third option.
So the only fee for using Albert is the subscription fee, which is the flat rate of $14.99. There's also the express fee, but that is optional, especially if you're able to plan ahead. And with the 30-day free trial, you can technically use Albert for free.
So overall, Albert is a very solid choice to use for your instant overdrafts. If you guys need some extra cash quickly, then one of the ways you can get that is by using a cash advance app. We're making a series where we take the 15 most popular cash advance apps and we compare all of the hidden costs and the features to kind of give you an idea of which one might be the best for you to use. So today we're going to be looking at the cash advance app called FloatMe. FloatMe is a cash advance app and offers up to $50 with no credit check, no interest, and no late fees. But how does this compare to all of the other cash advance apps out there? Let's check it out. So FloatMe, if we look at it in the App Store, it has been downloaded over 1 million times and it's received more than 100,000 combined reviews in the App Store and Google Play. A lot of these cash advance apps offer other features. With FloatMe, it's just super simple. It's just the cash advance and that's it. It's not trying to be your bank, your credit card, or your brokerage account. It is just very simple. With FloatMe, there's no credit checks. It's going to link to your bank account and then take a look at your payment history. The thing with FloatMe though is that you do need to have a regular paycheck and you do need to have a traditional bank account. It doesn't work with neobanks like Chime or Varo, and it also doesn't work off of benefit or pension payments. You can qualify for up to $50. However, in the very beginning, most people only qualify for $10, sometimes $30. So that's something you really want to take a look at if you're needing more money. It'll set up an automatic payment of your cash advance for your payday. And if that's not enough time for you, you can always push the date forward without having to pay any late fees. So that's always really helpful too. Just keep in mind that you cannot take out another cash advance until the first one's paid off. Okay, cost. This is my favorite part. So the FloatMe app comes with a free 7-day trial, so you can try it out first. But after that 7 days, you have to pay a monthly fee of $1.99. If you want your cash advance sent instantly, then you're also going to have to pay an express fee, and that could be up to $4. If you don't mind waiting 1 to 3 business days to receive your money, then you can skip out on the express fee. FloatMe, unlike a lot of the other cash advance apps, also doesn't
doesn't ask for tips, so you're essentially just paying the 1 monthly fee of $1.99. So how does this compare to other apps? So we took the average cost of borrowing $50 from the 15 most popular cash advance apps. The average we found was $10.52. If you're going to take out an advance using FloatMe, it's going to cost you $1.99 plus the express fee if we're going down that route. So the total is going to be $5.99. This is way lower than the average cost, and that's even including the express fee. So if you don't use that fee, then you're only paying $2 while the average is $10.99. So that is a pretty good deal. FloatMe comes in at second place. It is one of the most cost-effective ways to borrow $50. The only downside is that $50 is your limit, whereas a lot of cash advance apps have limits at $250 or $500. So if you're looking to borrow more money, you might want to look for other alternatives. And then also keep in mind that you might be capped at $10 initially as well, and not the whole $50. So that is something to think about before you use FloatMe, but overall it is a very cost-effective app. Okay, imagine you check your bank balance and it's in the single digits and your next payday is still a week away. And then you come across this random app called Rocco, something like that. And Rocco is promising it to float you $100 with no interest, no credit check, and no late fees. Now this app seems like it might be a little bit too good to be true, especially because it's not actually in the App Store. And I haven't really heard anyone talking about it. So we actually downloaded this app, we paid the subscription, we used the full service, getting the cash advance and also changing the date of repayment. So here's our verdict on whether or not you should be using this app and what you need to know before you hit that download button. So Rocco starts out like any other cash advance. It has the same eligibility requirements. You have to connect your bank via Plaid, and then there's no credit check. It's going to look at your deposit history through your bank account. So some things that make Rocco a little bit different is that you do need to upload a government issued ID, and you have to make at least 3 recurring deposits in order to qualify for the advanced feature. You can also pick your own repayment day, and you can change this day before the money is taken out of your account, so it's a little bit more flexible compared to some of the other apps. Now, what we couldn't find is any guidance on how to up the limits of Rocco's advance. Some people reported getting $20 to $50 for weeks without any increase. So we're just gonna assume it's like other cash advances here. You just use the app multiple times. As you build trust with the app and also make on-time repayments, it should increase your balance. And then for my fellow freelancers, if you don't have a typical 9-to-5, the information that we have is a little bit mixed. There's some users that didn't have consistent income and they were still able to apply for the advance, and then others were not. So it's gonna be a gamble. So gig workers may struggle a little bit to qualify for an advance. In order to apply for an advance, you need to pay the subscription fee of $8.99, which is a little bit steep. If you can wait up to 2 business days for the money, it's free, or you can pay the express fee. The express fee for a $100 advance is $7.99. Tips are also optional up to 20%. I don't even know why I bother mentioning this anymore, because I'm not exactly sure how many people leave a tip, but it's there if you want to. So let's use this as an example. If you pay all the fees, you pay the express fee for $7.99, the subscription fee for $8.99, and then you leave a tip, it's gonna be $21.88 to take out an advance, top of that $100 that you still have to pay back. So Rocco comes with a few other features for the premium subscription. It comes with spending insights, which is basically like simple charts showing you where your money goes. There's low balance alerts that will be sent to you when your account drops. And there's also identity theft protection, although we don't really have a lot of information on that, including which company they're working through and how your identity is protected. These features are also pretty basic compared to other apps like Cleo and MoneyLion, which have a smorgasbord of useful tools, such as credit building, cashback offers, or even financial coaching. And here's the real kicker. You will be paying the $8.99 subscription fee whether or not you qualify for an advance. In the terms, you can see that there is no refund. So even if you pay the subscription fee, you may not qualify, and then they'll just run off with your $8.99. That to me puts this app on my red flag list. But let's take a look at what other people say. So Google Play Store, it has 3.5 stars with about 400 reviews. So that's technically not too bad. There's comments about how it's really quick when it actually works, but the app also has a lot of glitches. It has poor customer service and sometimes even billing issues. So if you're approved, you can expect around $40 to $100, which is helpful in a pinch, but it's also super risky. There's a lot of vague descriptions about the features and how the process works, and I'm not super happy about paying money up front before you even qualify for an advance. There's minimal support, and then also it's not really clear for gig workers, so it's really hard to recommend this app. There are way better options out there. All right, if you're looking for a way to get a few extra bucks into that bank account of yours, then you might want to check out a cash advanced app. We've taken all of the popular cash advance apps and we've compared them, so we'll tell you what the hidden fees are and what you should be looking out for. Today, we are going to be looking at the app called Grid. Cue logo. Grid offers simple, straightforward cash advances up to $200 with no credit check, no interest, and no late fees. But how does it compare to all of the other cash advance apps? That's what we're going to find out today. Looking in the App Store, Grid has been downloaded several 100,000 times and has received more than 20,000 combined reviews in the App Store and Google Play. While cash advances are the main feature, Grid Money also offers an unusual service to help you optimize tax withholding from your paycheck and a cashback debit card. So it takes about 5 minutes to set up an account with Grid. It's pretty fast, but it is definitely not as elegant as all of the other cash advance apps. It does not require a credit check though, so that's good. It links to your bank account and then it takes all of your payment history and it determines your financial health from that. And then it gives you an amount that you qualify for. You can qualify for up to $200 per month, but in the very beginning, it's probably going to be something lower, like $50. Now, Grid is a little bit of an anomaly in a bad way because it does not offer instant advances. It's going to take about 1 business day to actually see the money in your account, compared to a lot of the other apps where it takes like about 30 minutes or so. So here's where things start to go a little bit downhill. So to start off, Grid is not as flexible as the other apps that we've compared in terms of being able to push that repayment to a later date. The good thing about Grid is that it is simple in that it only has one fee. There's one monthly subscription fee of $10 a month, and that lets you access the cash advance. Grid doesn't charge an express fee, however, there just isn't an express option at all. It's kind of a downside, especially compared to all of the other apps that do have express options. Grid also doesn't ask you for tips, so it's just that flat $10 per month for the cash advance and you're set to go. So we took all of the popular cash advance apps, there were 15 in total, and we averaged the cost and it came out to $16.35. And so compared to this cost, Grid is looking pretty good because it's a flat rate of $10, so that's $6 below the average cost of taking out a cash advance. You can break this down farther too because you can take out multiple cash advances. So if you take out $100, pay that off, and then take out another $100 within that same month, you're paying $10 for 2 cash advances. So that's like paying $5 per $100 cash advance. That makes this app look great compared to all of the other apps that we've looked at. Overall, Grid is great if you're looking for something simple. The cash advance amount of $200 is a little bit lower than the other apps that we've looked at. So if you're looking for a higher cash advance, this may not be the option for you. It's also missing some features like the express fee, and then also not being super great at accommodating late payments. So I would definitely make sure that you plan ahead before using this app to make sure you don't need those options. Other than that, it's definitely great and it's below the average cost of using a cash advance app. So I would say Grid is definitely an app that you should take a look at. If you're looking for a simple, easy way to get a few extra bucks when you need it, you might be considering a cash advance app, particularly the cash advance app called Klover. Klover offers simple and straightforward cash advances up to $250. It does not require a credit check and there's no interest and no late fees, so that sounds pretty good, but compared to the other popular cash advance apps out there, how good is it? Let's break it down. Okay, so Klover is definitely one of the more popular cash advance apps. It's been downloaded over 1 million times, and it's received more than 150,000 combined reviews in the App Store and Google Play. Klover also offers other features besides the cash advance, like helping you budget, tracking your spending, and monitoring your credit score. And as a fun little side thing, it also has daily prize drawings, and you can win up to $100. That's kind of snazzy. So there's no credit check when you're using Klover. It's going to connect to your bank account and take a look at your payment history. You can qualify for up to $200 within a few minutes, but keep in mind that it may cap your amount initially and it can be as low as $5. Klover also sets up automatic repayment on the day of your next payday, and you can push that forward if you need more time without having to pay a late fee. You just can't take out another advance. Okay, so now for the fees and the cost. How much is it going to cost you to use this app? Let's take a look. So the express fee to get your money instantly from Klover is going to cost you $9.99. That is the highest amount for express fees for all of the 15 apps that we've analyzed. So far, it's not looking that great. You can always choose to opt out of the express fee, but keep in mind that your money's gonna take about 3 business days to get into your account. Okay, so one of the downsides, this is the first time I've seen it out of the apps that we've analyzed so far, is that Klover uses your personal data to show you ads and partner offers. So if you are sensitive about sharing your data, then you may want to look into a different cash advance app. That is definitely a downside. That being said, let's take a look at how this app compares to the other 14 cash advance apps that we've analyzed. So let's pull up the handy dandy chart and we can see that across all of the apps, if you take out $100 as a cash advance, you're gonna be spending about $16.35.
Hi guys, real quick, I have a bit of an update. So right after we finished making that review video, the Cashlii app disappeared from the Google Play Store and no one could figure out if it was still in business. So it actually just showed up in the App Store this time and it has an even lower rating of 2 stars now instead of the 3 stars. So I just want to point that out. Some of the information in the video is inaccurate because we did say it was in the Google Play Store and we said it was 3 stars, but now it is in the App Store and it's only 2 stars, which is just more reason not to trust this app. So I just wanted to give this quick update and yeah, have fun with the review. Bye.
Cashlii is a low-cost, interest-free cash advance app that sounds great on paper. $150 advances, no fees, no credit check, and a low subscription fee of just $3.88. So why does this app happen to have the lowest ratings ever for any cash advance in the App Store? Just 3.0 stars on Google Play. And why are Reddit users so frustrated? We signed up, tested it, read every word of their very oddly enthusiastic terms of use, and dug into hundreds of real user reviews. So this app is supposedly gig worker friendly. In the App Store it says it's immigrant friendly, Gen Z friendly, and that you'll forge a deep financial friendship with the app over time. Now, this could be a good thing. If we look at Cleo, it's very Gen Z coded. However, it just seems like a very weird vibe for a financial product. So this app is for Android only. You have to download the app, connect it with Plaid. You don't need to give your social security or a credit check or anything like that. Identity verification is requested, but it's pretty flexible on what you can submit for that. It supports gig workers, students, and people not on W-2, so this is one of the more gig-friendly apps in theory. Let's test the theory. Many new users report small amounts of like $25 to $40 for their first advance. Cashlii doesn't disclose any eligibility requirements or say how you can increase the amount that you get for advances, so we don't have a lot of data on that, other than the vague references to bonding over time. There's also around 4 to 5 days for an eligibility reset in between advances. So the monthly subscription is $388, which is pretty cheap. It auto-renews unless you go and pause it. The standard delivery is free. It takes about 2 to 3 business days and it is deposited through ACH. There is an instant payout and the fee varies, but we were not able to find that information. So again, there's a big question mark. Now, and if we can't even find it, I'm guessing that all of y'all are pretty confused. They claim that the express fee takes just 10 seconds, but usually that's not really realistic and it takes around a few minutes. We prefer apps that just list the fees up front so you can compare and then use them and you don't get trapped after paying the subscription or spending money and then realize that you can't afford the express fee. That being said, it is still pretty cheap. The $388 is lower compared to a lot of the other apps. They use language like a measly $3.88, or you voluntarily choose to reward us a measly $3 tip. Their language is kind of pushing you towards feeling guilty if you don't want to spend that amount of money or not leave a tip. We also don't like that. In a way, it feels disrespectful to the users who are already in a financial pinch, because why else would they be using a cash advance? So to just push for that tip or guilt people into spending money is not cool. They also have balance alerts and breakdowns of recent spending, and they also support different languages. Just very basic things that you could probably find elsewhere for cheaper. It teases future 360-degree insights, but we have no idea what that even means. So yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at that 3.0 stars. So compared to other cash advance apps, we're looking at apps like Earnin with 4.4 stars, Brigit with 4.2, Dave for 4.3, even FloatMe has an average of 3.6 stars. A lot of users are complaining about unexpected charges or being billed even after denial of an advance. There's complaints that there is poor or non-responsive customer service, a long wait between advances, and unclear eligibility requirements. The app looks cheap and friendly, but across all the platforms we're getting these same complaints, so
quickly you can tell that this app is not very popular among the users. The $388 is tempting and cheap, but if you think about it, they may deny your advance, and so then you're just giving them free money basically.
So this little known app has been popping up a lot on Reddit as an alternative to the more popular cash advance apps. The app is called FrontPay. Let me know if you guys have heard of it. Hi guys, I just want to put a little disclaimer before I keep filming. So I keep calling this a cash advance app. It is not an app, which we will talk about later, but I keep calling it an app in the beginning because in the beginning I didn't know it wasn't an app. So just keep that in mind, but we will go over that a little bit later in the video. We're going to be going over FrontPay to see if this is a good option when compared to all of the other apps. So first of all, the advance limit is $100. So this falls in line basically with all of the other advances. So this is a good sign so far. However, if you're taking out your first advance, the value does seem to be a little bit lower than the other apps. We're guessing around $15, but we don't see any concrete information letting us know for sure. In terms of eligibility, there's also no credit check, just like the other apps, which is good. However, there is definitely some downsides here. The first one being that you have to have 2 direct deposits of $400 before you're able to take out a cash advance. The second thing is that it's also not available in some of the states. Add that to the small amounts that you're getting when you first take out an advance from $10 to $15, and this app may not be worth it. But let's take a look at the fees, because if this is an app that has low fees, it might be worth trying. Okay, so FrontPay has a whopping monthly subscription fee of $14.99. This is definitely on the high end of a lot of these advanced apps. You can get sort of a free trial. This was confusing, and we did email support about this. They say you do get a free period to try the app up until your payday. Once your trial ends, any dues that you owe for a cash advance that you took out during that period is going to be due during your next payday. A good piece of news is that this $14.99 subscription fee can actually be waived. It looks like you can email their customer service. I will put their email here. We're not 100% sure on this, so keep that in mind, but you can see section 5.8 of their terms and conditions and try it out for yourself. Now, to cancel your subscription fee, you do have to email customer support. So this creates an extra step compared to a lot of the other cash advance apps. There were some apps that were getting sued because their cancellation process was really difficult, which often included that extra step of having to email customer support instead of just having an easy unsubscribe button. So the process of cancellation for this app, I would say, is a little less user-friendly than a lot of the other apps out there. They say it takes about 12 hours to 2 business days to receive your funds, or you can pay the express fee of $3.99. We're not sure how fast this express option is. I don't think it's going to be instant like some of these other apps, so that is something to keep in mind. And as always, there's no late fees, no interest, and there's also no tips for this app. So it's a pretty simple pricing structure. Another kind of funky thing about FrontPay is that it is not a mobile app. You actually have to sign in on your desktop. It is a website, and apply for your cash advance there. This can actually be a pretty good option for people who are wary of downloading apps because they're worried about data collection, among other things. So it depends on your view of the mobile app. For me, I feel like that would be a downside because I'm more of a phone girly than a website girly. But I know there's other people that prefer websites. One of the other small downsides is that you will not get instant approval. A lot of the more well-known cash advance apps like Dave will let you know instantly if you qualify for a cash advance. With FrontPay, you do have to wait. It says typically a few hours, but it can even be into the next day. If you look on Reddit, there isn't a lot of information on FrontPay yet. However, we did find a thread where people are talking about whether or not this app is a scam. Technically, it's not an app. I keep saying it's an app. It's a website. But there's people on the thread that are complaining about how expensive it is, how they did not get a lot of money, how they got declined, and also that their customer service is like impossible to contact. Other than that, there's a lot of positive reviews by people who have actually taken out cash advances with no issue. So again, typical. There's mixed reactions, but it is legit. It is not a scam. Overall, FrontPay is like a quirky cash advance website. It is not an app like most of the apps, and it does take a little bit longer to get your money. However, because it looks like you can waive your subscription fee, you can potentially take out money for free. And personally, I like free things, so I don't think that this is a bad app to try as long as you plan ahead and know that it could take a while to get your money. Hi everybody, if you want to get some quick cash or try out a new cash advance app, then we have a new one we're going to be reviewing today. So this new app is called Credit Convey. I am guessing it's a newer app because if you look in the App Store, it's only been downloaded 5,000 times, which is super low compared to all the other apps. I'm excited to dive into this and see if it's worth our time checking out. So the first thing that we should note is that the cash advance amount that you can qualify for with Credit Convey is $150 maximum. However, all apps are going to start at the lower end at first before you build trust by using the app over and over again. It looks like you're going to start around $10 to $15. That's a lot lower than other cash advance apps that will give you $25 up to $100 for your first advance. So as usual, this limit can increase over time the more that you use the app. They don't tell you how long it's going to take for them to increase your amount that you qualify for. However, we strongly suspect it's about $10 a month. So in order to be eligible to use this app, there are a few requirements. First of all, there's no credit check, which is great. That is in line with all of the other cash advance apps. It's going to look at your bank transaction history. So it's going to see what money you've taken out, how much money's been coming in. You need at least $750 in monthly income. So if you have inconsistent income or you're self-employed, then this also might not be the best choice for you. So when they look at your transaction history, they're actually going to look and make sure that you're not spending your money too quickly after it's deposited into your account. So I find this really funny and kind of interesting. I'm sure other apps do this, but yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing that they look for. Also, minimum daily balances, and you also can't have too many overdrafts, so just keep that in mind. Now, a weird one is that you can't have a joint bank account. I find this super strange, and it's kind of hard for me to figure out why you can't have a joint bank account, but registration to see if you're eligible takes about 7 minutes, so this is slower than a lot of the other apps, but not by too much. It usually takes about 5 minutes on average. You'll use a secure software called Plaid, which is going to connect your bank account to the app. It doesn't work with some banks, and you also have to have a direct deposit, so just keep that in mind. If you're uncomfortable giving out your social security number, you don't have to worry because this app does not ask you for one. We also have a hack on how to reduce the fees to use this cash advance, so stay tuned and make sure you watch through the whole thing. Okay, so Credit Convey does have a subscription fee. It's at $9.78 a month to be able to use this feature. You do get a free 3-day trial, but you do have to pay upfront before you figure out if you're eligible. Now, it is pretty clear on the app what the subscription fees are. We do really appreciate that upfront disclosure. A lot of the apps try to hide their fees, or there's like extra fees hidden halfway through the process that you don't know about until after you've already started. So this is great. It makes the process a lot less frustrating. And then the hack, guys. Okay, so we talked about this in a previous video, but if you email their customer service, I'll put their email right here. If you email them asking to waive the subscription fee, they will do that for you, so you can use the cash advance without having to pay anything. Yay! I love this hack. And this works for a lot of the other apps too, so recommend you always try emailing them and asking them to waive any subscription fees and seeing if they'll do that for you. It's super easy to cancel the app with just a few clicks, so that is great. However, if you have an outstanding balance, they will not let you cancel. So this is what got certain apps like FloatMe and Brigit into trouble with the regulators, because technically you're not supposed to do that. So that is one aspect of the app that I'm not super happy with, but if you know this up front, then you know, make sure you pay off those advances before you cancel the app. So this app does actually ask for tips. It's optional though, as with all of the other apps. And then there is an express fee. However, it does not disclose what this express fee amount is until after you start the process of using the app, after you're qualified. So that's the thing I was just saying, how there's like fees down the line after you've already started the process. I guess that is happening here with the express fee. So that makes me a little bit unhappy with how it's structured, but hopefully the fees aren't too expensive. And then there's also no interest and no late fees. Okay, so in terms of reviews and what other people are saying, if you go into the Google Store and the App Store, you'll see that it averages 4.6 stars on the Apple Store and 4.3 stars on Google Play. However, if we look at the Google Play, there's less than 300 reviews because, again, it hasn't been downloaded that many times. So there's a lot of positive reviews saying that this app is straightforward and super easy to get their money, which is great. And then negative reviews, of course, there were some people complaining about it being difficult to cancel. So we don't know why this is. It could be because they deleted the app without actually canceling their subscription. So even though the app was gone, they kept getting charged. That's a common mistake that people make. So you always remember to cancel within the app first and don't just delete it, because even if you delete it off your phone, you're still subscribed. And then the other thing is the outstanding advance. So we didn't have a hard time canceling. It was easy for us, but we don't have an outstanding balance. So it all depends on what your personal situation is. Those were the negative reviews, as well as people complaining about getting small amounts up front, like in the $10 range, which I kind of expected. That's a pretty low amount to receive at first, so I understand why people would be unhappy about that. But overall, it seems to be pretty positive. Those seem to be the main negative complaints. Another thing is that you can't take out multiple advances a month. So if you're starting at that $10 and you're paying almost $10 for a subscription fee, that's pretty steep. That may not be worth it to you if you aren't planning on like building up trust with this app and increasing your amount. If you're just doing like a one-off cash advance, then there's definitely better and cheaper options out there. And remember, you can also try the hack where they let you use it for free. So they do have a few simple features. They have like a financial wellness feature, but all it pretty much does is just go over like expenses that you have already. We did try to like ask it for predictions for future expenses, but it was pretty off the mark by more than $10,000. So it's that part of the app is like not super helpful for us in particular. And they also have low bank account balance alert. We recommend just getting the alert straight from your bank so you don't have to worry about a third-party app. But again, might be something useful for you. Overall, this is an interesting app. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. And I think it's definitely worth trying, especially with the hack, you guys. I also like that they're pretty transparent about their fees and their pricing, and it's a straightforward process, as said in the positive reviews. The only thing I would say is I would prefer the express fees to be disclosed up front. But what can you do? It can't be perfect. I still think this app has potential. All right, guys, if you found that helpful, definitely like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.